Welcome back to Memes and Markets. Keith, how are you, man?
Today's the best day of my life, Ben. How are you?
Today is fantastic. Jessica's shocked to hear your response. Jessica, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Not the best day of my life, but it's, right up there.
Well, it's early, so hopefully we can turn that around and make it so. But if you had to explain who you are to people who are watching who may have not seen your content before, how do you explain what you do?
That's a great question. I'm a retired teacher. I taught for 32 years in New Jersey. I retired 2 years ago. And at that point, I went into content creation full time. And right now, I talk about politics, the state of American education, lots of other things that are coming down the pike that are happening in real time. And I try to just address everything with real statistics, not talking points. Things that can be researched, and it's been a challenge. It's definitely been a challenge, but I love it.
So many different angles to potentially go down, but something that I saw on your page recently is talking about teachers in the United States quitting and leaving the industry, the space. I don't know if you call it industry. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, why is that happening, and what does it mean?
The implications of this are going to have ripple effects that I don't think people fully realize how bad this is going to be. And I've done many videos about a 50-year push for the dismantling of public education. And we see it really coming to fruition, especially in the past year and a half, where there have been things in place to get rid of it. So this mass exodus of teachers is happening because we are getting more and more things added to our job description without any compensation, without any extra time. And teachers now in 2026 are making about 5% less than they were decades ago. So even though our salaries have gone up, they have not kept up with inflation. So nobody gets into teaching to be rich. Not one person said, I'm going to be a teacher so I can live a luxury lifestyle. We get in it because we love it. And we do it for the kids, but that's a toxic phrase because whenever somebody says, oh, you do it for the kids, then that indicates that you shouldn't get fair compensation because you're not in it for the kids. So other professions that are on par with our education level, our experience level, are getting exponentially more in their salary than teachers are. So not only do we not have a lot of people going into education, I live on a college campus in South Jersey that was founded to be an education school to train teachers. 2 years ago, their graduating class for English ed majors had 4 in it. 4. And there used to be dozens and dozens. So we're seeing people not only not going into the profession, but then we're seeing people who are in the profession who leave within 5 years. 44% of new teachers leave within the first 5 years. And they're citing behavior of students, lack of interest with students, non-supportive administration, overwhelming workloads that just get added to. So we are in a crisis.
So I think as someone who knows a few people that are teachers, the behavior of the students is something that they notice is radically different from when we were in school. Can you speak to some of that and maybe give some examples if you have any?
Sure. What we're seeing now, and I was spoiled. I was in a school with great administrators who, if something happened, the kid was disciplined, brought to our classroom, apologized to our face, because that's a component that's important. You can kick a kid out for bad behavior, and then they come back the next day and there's been no repair. And so our administrator said, no, you're going to come back, you're going to look eye to eye, you're going to have this conversation so that when you're back in class the next day, you guys have that repair. I had a great experience in my school, but teachers are telling me all across the country because they email me, they private message me. They're saying they send kids out and the kids come back with a smile on their face, a bag of chip in their hands, and absolutely no discipline. And that's demoralizing
Oh, yeah.
because as a teacher, you're trying to assert your authority here, and then you see that your authority is undercut by administrators. And then the kids know there are no consequences.
Yes, that's the most important thing.
That's the most important thing, because any kid is going to take advantage of that situation. Well, not any kid, but most kids. Think about when you had subs and you knew that you could get away with stuff. Sometimes, it wouldn't be horrible, but you take more liberties.
You see how far you can push it, for sure.
You do. And now imagine that day after day, you're a teacher who is being cursed at. Teachers are telling me they're being hit, they're having things thrown at them. That's not sustainable at all.
Especially if you're not getting paid really, really well. If the paycheck was fantastic, maybe you could justify it. But
Right.
when you're stacking things upon that, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
major, major problem. Keith, looks like you got something.
I feel like I might have missed some of this.
Yeah.
But my question is why are the students behaving this way?
Okay, that's a great question to see, where did this come from? And it's slowly been building. And I'll tell you, a lot of people want to just blame it on COVID. I started teaching in 1992. I saw a change in students starting 2013, 2014. And what I know, and I taught everything from advanced placement seniors to basic skills seniors to sophomores. So I had the top 20 in the class, the bottom 40 in the class, and then sophomores in the middle. So I saw it all. And I saw this change happening across grade levels, where 2013, 2014, kids got less interested in participating in class, less interest in participating in school activities in general. They didn't want to go to trips anymore. They didn't want to go to events at the school anymore. And so that disconnection from the school community and not having that community started way before COVID. COVID exacerbated it. And then once we coddled kids through COVID, because we didn't know what we were doing, we were flying by the seat of our pants. We get out of that. And it took a lot longer for the kids to get out of that. And then we also see a lot of parents who are not reinforcing good behaviors at home. So there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah. Because I mean, that's the part of it that is the most disappointing, because it's like, as you said, like what can the teachers really do if some of these problems are potentially starting at home or
Mhm.
outside of school? But then it's impacting everyone else's ability to even be able to participate if they want to.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, that was probably something that would hurt me the most. And it feels like people don't have community, right? Or have these
Right.
things that are like keeping them in place.
Yes.
Um, how much do you think this has to do with what's happening with digital and like social
Oh,
media and all of that?
everything. And around 2013 to 2015 is when we see the social media apps really taking hold. By that point, kids weren't on a Nextel or a flip phone anymore. They had their smartphones. And so I'll give you a concrete example of how this deteriorated. We used to do this program called Dancing with the Staff, based on Dancing with the Stars, and it was a fundraiser. And I was in charge of the Gay Straight Alliance for 20 years while I was there. And that was our major fundraiser for the year. We had student teacher combos coming out doing dances. When they went off stage, we projected their backstage interviews on the wall. It was a huge production. Everybody was going for the first 2 years. And then the third year, we noticed that we had about 75% fewer. And then the next year, our audience was 50% fewer. So we started saying, why aren't people coming? Because kids were live streaming it to their friends at home. They didn't even want to come to the school and be in the environment with everybody else. And then finally, by the fifth year, we had maybe 30% of our tickets sold. And so we said, what are we doing? We had to cancel our freshman football year a few years back because we didn't have enough kids for a team.
Wow.
I mean, that's what we're seeing. We used to have kids come out for float building, for homecoming in droves. And then kids stopped coming to the float building. It was, every night for a week. So we said, okay, let's paint banners. Well, then kids stopped coming to that. And then we said, okay, let's paint a corner of the cafeteria with a mural that they can do during the school day. And after a couple years, kids stopped doing that. All of the things that brought them together before just dissipated. And then I remember talking to a kid one time and I said, "Oh, what'd you do this weekend?" She said, "Oh, my friend came over and we watched Netflix." I said, "Oh, what did you watch?" And she said, "Well, I watched Grey's Anatomy and she watched Gilmore Girls."
No way.
Way. And so it was like, "Oh, you watched them, you watched that." And then she goes, "Oh no, we watched together." And I said, "How are you watching two shows at the same time?" "Oh, well, we had our headphones on. We were watching on our Chromebooks." So that's a visit. That's getting together, watching shows next to each other on a Chromebook.
That's wild. That
Wild.
it's truly insane to think about. But I think through my experience of going through childhood and then adolescence, teenagers, all that stuff, like it was a lot of awkward experiences that you kind of had to go through to seek novelty and discovery. And now a lot of that has kind of been replicated to a degree on the phone, and then there's no risk there. So it makes
Mhm.
sense why a lot of these kids who are very worried about social dynamics, they don't have to take on any risk and they can synthetically get the same sort of experience. And so they opt for that a lot, which is losing all the other things that came with those awkward experiences where you could learn and find yourself.
You're absolutely right. And I am Gen X. I was, born in the 60s, grew up in the 70s, where our mother would kick us out of the house at 9 a.m. People always joke, was it really like that, Gen X? Yes, it was. We were not allowed back in the house the whole day. And what we did as a pack of kids going through the neighborhood, we organized games. We had fights. We made up. We went on treks all throughout the whole neighborhood. We didn't have any adults around us to guide us in our activities or to resolve our conflicts.
Hmm.
So we got those skills. We used our imaginations. We used our problem solving. We used our conflict resolution. And kids today don't have that. So I have rarely been to a party now for my friends who have kids or other people where kids go to a party and they're not dropped off. The parents are there the entire time. When I was a little kid, we were dropped off. Our parents were like, bye. And then 5 hours later, we'd get picked up. And now I notice at these things where kids are playing, if there's a little bit of contention, there's adults swarming in from all sides to resolve that. And then the kids aren't getting that skill.
No, because you have to learn from so many different types of experiences, right? When everything is so sheltered, or if it's only an online experience, like although online experiences seem different, the same fundamental things are taking place over and over again. So there's not that learning taking place. But that's fascinating. So kids' birthday parties,
Mhm.
the parents are going too.
Yes,
That,
yes. I have
wow.
not been to one where kids are left off anymore. And, little kids fight, they argue, they have issues with each other, which we would just work through. And now it's immediately parents come in from all sides and try to resolve it for them. And there is a skill that's lost there when you don't know how to handle situations. I had students who literally would shake if they had to talk on the phone.
Whoa.
So before there was online ordering, before there was anything, they're like, I mean, I'll call, but and they were honest with me about it. I'll call, but then I wrote down what I wanted to say. I was like, to order a pizza? Are you kidding me?
That's yeah, it's wild. And I know I'm sure a lot of this push for you got to be so worried about being politically correct whenever you talk about these things. But like when the whole, like, it seems like everybody I know now has like an anxiety disorder of some kind. It's like it seems like the push for trying to deal with real things created a lot of
Mhm.
things that were just human experiences too, right? Like
Yes.
how like if you can't go on the phone, you probably would have gotten over that if you went on the phone like 10 times and then you're good to go. But now no one has to do any of those things.
No, they can do everything online. And so in my class, especially after COVID, I remember coming back when we had class in person, full classes, and I would ask questions of the kids, and kids started giving me thumbs up in person. And I'm like, oh my God, do you realize we are not? I said, okay, people, stop. We are resetting. And I taught the art of conversation, I taught handshakes. And I said, when you have a conversation with somebody, you don't look at your phone, you give them eye contact. You don't wait to speak, you ask a follow up question. And then I taught handshakes. If you're shaking somebody's hand, you don't hand them a dead fish. You give them a handshake. You make that connection. Those soft skills, those little skills that they had lost. If I'm speaking to you, I don't want you to just nod. I want you to say something. That's a human interaction. Don't give me a thumbs up in person.
There's so many, yeah, it's so fascinating to see how all these things have changed, and then it always seems like not a big deal in the moment because no one's thinking down the trickle down effect of how this creates a different kind of person and then in turn a different type of society. What are like the if you had a magic wand and you could change a few things, what would you change?
Oof. As far as education and what I've seen with the students over the years, because when people talk about a literacy crisis, it's not just being able to read, it's being able to analyze and make inferences and actually think deeply. That has gone by the wayside and it's only been exacerbated with AI. I would go back to like 2008 to 9 was when we started getting a lot of tech companies coming into schools and saying, hey, guess what? We have a new thing that will make your teacher life so much easier and it will give you so much information about your students. We didn't know any better. We didn't know any differently. And so they said, you're going to be left behind. Japan is doing this, China's doing this, the old sell. And so schools started bringing in all of this technology. They started bringing in all of these programs and Chromebooks. And so the thinking part for students was not there as much as it was. So if I could go back and change anything, I would put a halt to that. In the last 3 years of my career, I took my kids off Chromebooks for the most part, and everything was handwritten. Everything was done in class, no homework. Do it in front of me. Handwrite it in front of me so that if you need help, I'm here to help you immediately. Who's going to help you at home? So it's that's what I would change.
I love that. And so we had some messages in the chat here. So RD said cell phones in schools are a very controversial topic because of school emergencies. How do they contact their parents if they don't have phones?
Listen, in a school
So
emergency, the last thing we want are a bunch of kids on their phones.
Yeah, true.
Because then you're jamming up what's actually happening. False information is getting out there. I, people keep saying, oh, I want to contact my kid. Okay, I understand that panic. But if everybody's contacting their kid, what are we doing here? And if
Yeah.
there's an emergency, the school has systems that actually ping out to parents immediately. And I get that they want to talk to their kid. I understand that, but it actually isn't helpful to the situation.
No, that makes complete sense. I didn't even think about that. Go ahead, Keith.
for sure, and that was a response to a question from Brand One, which was, "What is stopping schools from banning phone usage in school?"
You cannot believe the pushback from parents.
That's
You
crazy to me.
cannot believe the pushback. There are some parents who are like, thank God, you should have done this years ago. Get that phone out of his hands. But then we have parents who are like, no, you are not isolating my child from me. So there's a big variation in what we see. And I do believe some school districts just don't want to deal with it. They really don't. Now, we've seen statewide cell phone bans in some states, and those teachers have reached out to me and they said the best part of the cell phone ban, where some schools it has to be off and away the whole day, but it can be on the student's person. Some of them put them in those pouches that are magnetized. They said the best part about the cell phone ban is that the cafeteria is noisy again. The hallways are noisy again. It takes a long time to get the class settled because they're all talking to each other. I love that. I love it.
Keith, what do you got?
Yes. In the content that you've been creating, I guess in the beginning, what was the first thing that people really latched onto from what you were saying?
Oh, well, I started in 2019 before COVID happened, and I used to be on Vine. And I would do, if anybody remembers mine, I used to do the little 6-second videos where I would wear my glasses on my nose, peer over them, have my teacher face, not say anything. And then Vine went away. And then I had a student in November of 2019 show me a TikTok that he made. And he was like, oh, look, I got 100 views. And I was like, amateur. So I immediately started out of my competitive nature. I was like, oh, good for you. But I'm thinking, oh, I can blow that out of the water. So I started making TikToks, and there weren't a lot of teachers on TikTok at that point because it was a kids app. I didn't really know anything about it. So I started with comedy, just teacher comedy type stuff. And then COVID happens 3 or 4 months later, and then everybody's on TikTok. And so that I hit it right at the right time. I don't want a worldwide pandemic, to happen, but it did happen at the right time. And so I started making relatable teacher content. And then I started talking about being child free by choice. And that opened me up worldwide, where I had a Russian TV crew come interview me, a German TV crew come interview me, because a lot of people weren't talking about being child free by choice 7, 8 years ago. And then as I retired and knew I was going into retirement, I started to get into the nuts and bolts of teaching a little bit more, because we do have to be cautious as teachers, public figures being paid by public funds, about what we say, because we are under a lot of scrutiny. But once I retired, I was like, oh, game on, let's go.
Fascinating. You said being child free by choice was the thing that the German crew started reaching out about.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that and what that means and why it's such a big deal?
Yeah, it was huge. One of the videos I made about being child free by choice, my first one, got me on TikTok about 100,000 new followers within a 3-month period. It really took off in that way, millions of views on that video. And it was something where I've always known that I didn't want to have children. From the time I was 11, 12, I said that. And I remember being a little kid, I never played house. I played manager. I would line up my stuffed animals and boss them around. I never had a doll that I wanted to hold. If people say, you want to hold my baby? I'm like, no, I'm good. It's adorable. It looks like a little meatloaf, but I'm good. So I just always knew that. And I can't tell you the pressure that I faced when I got married in 1996, immediately at my wedding reception. So when's the baby coming? And I'm like, oh my God, does nobody believe me when I say I don't want children? And that happened, that kept going until I was about 40, where people kept asking me. And so when I made that video, I got people from all over the world, women from all over the world saying, in my culture, I can't even express this, but I don't want kids. I want to do this and this and that. And I will be a housewife in my culture if I have kids, and I will never fulfill my dreams. And it was heartbreaking because I'm like, oh my God, come live with me. But when it started to reach a lot of South American countries, a lot of Middle Eastern countries, which surprised me. But then it got picked up in Russia, which was very surprising, because right now you can't even mention being child free in Russia. And a German TV crew also came in, and they just looked at me. I remember getting interviewed by both crews, and the women who interviewed me were like, fascinating. I'm like, what's so fascinating about it? There have been child free women throughout all of history, but it wasn't a big conversation, and now it is. But the issue is that we're pulling the needle to the other side, and there's this trad wife content that is coming out, which is just so harmful.
So what is trad wife content, and why do you feel that it's harmful?
Trad wife content, traditional wife, it's advocating the idea of women not going to college and getting married right out of high school and starting to have as many babies as possible, serving their husband, letting their husband hold the vote as the head of the household, and the fact that they will be more fulfilled having lots and lots of babies very young instead of any kind of worldly pursuit. Now, for some women, that will be amazing. But the way that it's been packaged right now is this ethereal, very Instagram worthy type of packaging where it's like, look at me making cereal from scratch for my children. I harvested this and I got this, and my kids are, raw milk and blah, blah, blah. And, my husband makes all of the decisions for the family. Again, that's great for some people, but let's not package it as this utopia, because you don't see a lot of old trad wives. They've been traded in. So, if you want to trace where that 18-year-old is, she's probably 45, divorced with no education, no money. They don't look at the end of it. They're looking, and the content for trad wives has gotten so prolific. And every time I see it, I could break my phone in half, because don't package it as this utopia, because for some women it will be, for the majority of women it won't be.
Yeah, I think I see a lot of content that I think is preying on similar things in people in totally different niches. Like where a lot of people, like a lot of these AI accounts will post like throwbacks to what life used to be like, and I'm sure this is kind of down a similar path where they think that, oh, if they do this, the world will go back to whatever it was as if it was better before. And so, yeah, I think people are falling victim to this sort of thing in a bunch of different spaces.
There's this nostalgia for a life that was only pretty good for white cis men who are hetero. So the rest of you want to go back to what? When I couldn't get a house on my own, when I couldn't get a credit card on my own, when I could not, do a lot of things without a male cosigner. Is that what you want to go back to? Like, I, they've idealized it in a way where I don't think young people understand. I was 5 when women were allowed to open their own bank account.
Wow. I think the word you nailed was idealized. Like that's I think that's present across the board. And then once people latch on to something where they feel like this is my contribution to solving whatever they think the problem is, it becomes an obsession because there's so
Yes.
many because it usually leads to a feedback mechanism of it starts off with like curiosity and then entertainment and then it changes belief systems and then it gives them community. And then that's where it's like this becomes very bad because now confirmation bias is just rampant because everyone's going to talk about how good they are, right? How good this made their life because they don't want to say that it's bad. It's their new community. And then it becomes very sticky as well. So yeah, problematic across the board. We see this all the time because we try to explore these little pockets,
Yes.
but the
Yeah.
trad wife's not one that I've looked too deep into. So that's why I was very curious.
It's kind of jarring. It really is. And I, as a woman who has tons of female friends, some of us are married, some of us aren't, some have kids, some don't, but we all have an education. The majority of us have master's degrees, doctorates. We could be abandoned at any point in time and on our own 2 feet. My old Italian grandmother and her 2 sisters, I remember I was 5 years old. My parents had just gotten divorced, and my grandmother and her sisters were sitting around the kitchen table. And my grandmother looks at me and she goes, "Never depend on a man." And I was like, "I'm 5." Like, what do you mean? But it was always have your own education, always have your own means to support yourself. And it did come in handy because I got divorced 7 or 8 years ago. And I literally did not miss a beat after 22 years of marriage because I was educated, because I had my own money, my own bank accounts. And it was very amicable. No alimony, no taking of each other's pensions, just, all right, it's been real. Let's go do our thing. And my worry for a lot of these girls falling into the trad wife community is that divorces are high. What do you do when you have no education and no money at 40 years old and kids to support and your husband is gone?
No, makes total sense. But as a man who is currently going through the dating market and had been for a long period of time, I will say that I did feel a general disdain towards like it feels like women, a lot of people were like they didn't like men. Did you experience anything like that or have you seen that? And if so, where did that start and come from? Because it seems like when I would go on dates, it was like I am an enemy and a threat until I prove that I'm not. And it's just like
Right.
I get, of course, you have to like defend yourself as a woman. Like I am obviously in a different situation as a bigger man. I totally get that, but it seems
Yeah.
like very exaggerative. Like we're in a public
Okay.
space, like nothing's gonna happen to you here. Like I should obviously I'm not a threat. Do you know what I'm saying? It seems like they've been a little scared. I don't know the proper word.
Yeah, and I think when you say, "Obviously, I'm not a threat," it's not obvious to women because we've met guys like you who know exactly what to say and know, and you seem like a wonderful guy.
But if you come to every situation like that, then at what point are you
Right.
attracting it?
Correct. I agree. And so there has to be something where there are some women who are saying, I'm not dating anymore because I just don't know. And a lot of them are putting out their dating horror stories. They videotape what happens on the date and the way men talk to them. They have this, and then that also gets out there. And I'll tell you, when I got divorced, I went on a dating website for 3 days because I saw that if I didn't answer messages immediately, I would get the message, you know what, you seemed cool, but you're just another B like all of the other girls. I'm glad I didn't waste my time on you. And I'm like, wait, I was at work. I couldn't answer your messages. And they would devolve in that situation because they thought I was rejecting them. So I think just like the trad wife content, there is a lot of that going out because we're seeing men behaving badly. And I think there are some women who are just going in saying, okay, let me know that you're not a predator, that you're not just love bombing me, that you are actually truthful. And that's the way they approach it.
I
And it's
think it's
going to be
gone way too
frustrating for you.
I think it's gone way too far. Like way too far the other way because that also creates a feedback mechanism like you said, people share content like this, so then now they get rewarded for bad experiences. And so subconsciously, they're also seeking this out because they actually get validation for a bad experience. So like
Yeah. And
I think it's gone too far.
well, and I think for a lot of the women who are in the dating world, they're saying, you know what? It's such a mess out there right now. I'm not even going to date. I have a lot of nieces who are in the 20-year range, and they're just like, I don't want to. I don't want to go through all of that right now. I want to build my career. I want to own my own home or rent or do whatever I need to do. And then if somebody comes into my life who enhances my life,
Mhm.
great, but I'm not seeking it. So they're kind of opting out.
Totally. Yeah, and I think men are doing the same sort of thing, which is a big problem if both are opting out. How do we keep going? But, I'd love to come back to the education piece in terms of AI. We've not really talked about that.
Mm.
So, how do you see that impacting education? Because I can't see that thing making things better, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, it's not making things better at all because kids are not only using AI now for assignments, but they're also using it for simple decisions where they have taken that community that we talked about before that was gone and put it into whatever AI they are using. Hey, should I stay after school for this club? What are the advantages? Like, no, you don't ask AI that. you, you think, you reflect on yourself. And so they're using it socially. But as far as school goes, what I was seeing, what teachers were seeing, is that they are taking whatever AI gives them without any critical thought, without any vetting of the information. And that was a problem. So when ChatGPT first came out, I believe it was December of 2022 or 2023. I put one of my writing assignments in ChatGPT and it spit out an essay that was okay, maybe like a C minus. 6 months later, I put the same assignment into ChatGPT, spit out a paper that was probably a B, solid B. And then by the time I got to the year before I retired, I put the assignment in. It had textual evidence, it had quotes from the Crucible, same assignment. And I saw the evolution of how this was exponentially getting better. So I told my students with their major papers for the year, hey, guess what? You're going to write them in class. You're going to do everything in class. You don't have to do it at home anymore. You know, usually a literary research paper, 5 to 10 pages for AP seniors. And I said, you're going to get class time. And I had Go Guardian up and I blocked all of the websites that they could use to write this. And guess what? I got the best papers of my career. Well, since 2005. But the kids were actually focused for the 40 minutes each day, and they had nowhere else to turn. So they were really working with me and thinking about what could happen. And their papers were excellent.
That's fascinating. I think it is the ability to retreat to the alternative will almost always be taken unless it's not an option.
Sure, it's easy. It's, how many times can you just think of something and say, oh, let me just have this thing do it, or let me have that thing do it. And it really does make life easier, but at what cost? What are you not exercising in your own brain in order to get that? You didn't have to research. You're not vetting the information that you got. So you're not critically thinking about this critical thinking task. All you're doing is getting an answer inserted, and then you forget about it. And what they're showing in colleges is where they're doing studies on this. The kids who get to use ChatGPT and the kids who don't, the ones who use ChatGPT remember nothing about the subject that they researched. The kids who didn't use ChatGPT have a working knowledge of what they researched. So that's what makes me nervous, making inferences. I taught inferences over and over and over again. Use context clues. I used to start with a scenario where I would say a person walks into a car dealership with a gray car. They are presented with a white car, a red car, and a black car. What do you think they're going to pick? I didn't say the gender. I didn't say the age. I didn't say the type of car. I didn't say anything else. And I would watch their minds working and the questions they would ask me and the inferences they would make based on the information that they had. And then I would do that with our literature. Kids aren't making inferences. So again, when we talk about the literacy crisis, it's not just the reading level. It's the ability to think critically, analyze, and make inferences that is gone.
That's a really good point because even if the people who are very pro AI, if you don't have all those skills, it's not really all that useful.
Yes, because it can spit out anything to you. But how do you know that information is correct? Especially if it's not giving you sources. Yes, it packages it very, very nicely. But what's true? What's not true? What actually fits your purpose, And so I see all these accounts that come up and say, here's the exact prompt that you use if you want to get this. And I'm like, no, stop it.
That is true. Yeah, and I think social media also played a role in that to get us here too, where a lot of it is like, do this, get this, where it's like, that's not really how the world works because everything is laden with so much nuance and depends on the person and the individual. So the skill set of thinking is really, really the skill that is really underappreciated.
It is. And I always tell my students, we could read this poem, and the poem itself doesn't matter. Yes, it's helping you with cultural context and understanding the world as a whole, but it's the vehicle we're using to help you analyze, to help you make inferences. You're not going to hear about this poem again unless you go on Jeopardy and it happens to be a question. But it is what we are using to get you to think and understand and evaluate. I said, those are the skills you can take to any class in the school and any job that you have. I don't care if you remember this poem. I care that you're practicing the skills.
Love it. Keith, you got something?
There was brought this up in the chat. There was this news where a Brown professor gave a test to their students. So let me read it off from Paul Graham here. A Brown professor gave his take-home midterm exam after suspecting many cheated using AI. He made the final in person. The orange dots are the midterm scores and the gray dots are the final scores. It looks like all but 3 of them cheated on the midterm. So yeah, essentially, this has just been circulating right now. Kids using AI to score higher on their tests, and in reality, not being able to replicate those results in person.
Yeah, and it's a shame
So this is something
because
that is
they're
happening.
they're missing so much. They're missing so, and reading has gone down. Not only just the assignments that we're doing, I used to have kids who would come in with thick sci-fi books, not my genre, but fantasy books that were 600-700 pages, and they would read the whole series. Now I would have to read the books in class with my kids if I wanted them read, because if not, they're going home, they're getting a summary, AI summary of what the book is, and not using it. And I'm like, you guys, you need this for the AP test. And if you get a good score in the AP test, you can forego certain classes and save yourself thousands of dollars. And they're like, yeah, but it was long. Oh my God.
What kind of content are you seeing like the youth watch? Because I think that we say like obviously tech is a major contributor to the problem, but I think a lot of it has to do with the types of things they're using or which tech they're using, right? Like I think that short form content is exponentially more harmful to your attention span, your mental health, all these things than say something like YouTube or a podcast like this. I'd love to
Mhm.
hear your 2 cents on the differences between that.
Yeah, when I was in my last year of teaching and the second to last year, when they came out of COVID, we didn't have a cell phone ban. And because I had seniors who had jobs and other things, I'm like, just put your phone face down on your table, don't touch it. But I had kids who worked shift work or could pick up a shift at Wawa, at the gas station or something else. And they're like, my boss just texted, can I text back real quick and say I'll take the 3 to 11? Fine. But when class was done, I would watch them on their phones, and just to see what they were doing, it was literally 2 seconds, 1 second, 2 seconds, 2 seconds. And I look at my analytics, I literally have a second to get people to stop and watch my content. So I'll do a whole video and I'm like, what can I put as a hook in the front to maybe get them to 5 seconds? So I watch their habits. And if they weren't doing this, they were on Snapchat. That was the biggest thing. And it was, here I am in my class. And then they'd look and then they're like, oh, my streak is 100 with this person. And it's all like this rapid fire.
Yeah, I never did the whole Snapchat thing, but my little sister was huge on Snapchat. It
So
became
you
their
saw it.
primary oh, I couldn't understand it. Like, Jessica, she'd be, like, in the middle of a room and, like, there wouldn't even be anything taking place in these messages back and forth, but she'd say, "Oh, I gotta maintain my streak." So she'd send, like, a picture of her forehead to someone, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Oh, I'm talking to my friend." I'm like, "This isn't talking." I don't know
No,
what this is, but it's not that.
it's not. It's not. And the same thing happened with dating when I would see, the good thing about all of this is that our pregnancy rates have gone down. But when we were talking about dating, I was like, so what do you mean you're dating? What does that mean now? And they're like, oh, we're seeing each other. I was like, okay, I know that's a phrase that we used to use, but are you seeing each other in person? Well, no, we FaceTime each night. I'm like, well, for how long? Well, I'll just leave mine open while I'm sleeping. And then he'll leave his open while he's sleeping. I'm like, are you kidding me? That is psycho. You have your FaceTime open the whole night to watch each other sleeping? It's just they're not getting together in person.
Yeah, that's not really happening at all. You mentioned that you said it's good that birth rates are down. Why is that good?
Well, teen birth rates. We don't have
Oh,
the teen
teen birth rate.
pregnancy rates. Yeah,
Got
the
it.
teen
Oh,
pregnancy rates. Yeah.
okay,
So
okay.
when
Totally get what
I
you're
start,
saying.
yeah, when I started teaching in 1995, I had 10 sophomores who all got pregnant in the same school year. And I wound up teaching their kids years later.
Wow.
And so we started a program to just talk to girls about not only what pregnancy and childbirth is like, but the expense of a child. We talked about everything. And, we saw the teen pregnancy rates going down in our school, but nationally, they've also gone down. And that's because kids aren't getting together
Yeah,
physically. They're not in the same place. They're watching each other sleep on FaceTime.
that is wild. That's insane. I also think that, even how people meet in the first place now, almost every relationship starts on dating apps, and it seems like they're very much optimized for the wrong things when it comes to successful relationships. And it seems like both men and women are tapping out of using those or the dating market entirely. It's a very sticky, bad situation. I don't even know how you begin to fix those things. Do you have any ideas?
I don't. And again, I was on the dating apps for 3 days and just said, oh my God, this is the Wild West. This is not for me. And also, you have to remember, as somebody who's 50 plus, there's a lot of guys out there in my age range who are looking for something called a nurse in a purse, where they're looking for a woman who will be able to take care of them
Wow, I've never heard
as
of
they
this.
get. Oh, a nurse and a person. Oh my goodness. My friends, because I'm 57, I have friends who are my age and in their 60s, and they're like, how I say to them, how did the date go? He wanted a nurse and a purse. After 3 months, these men want to move in with them
Wow.
because women will take care of
Mm,
the men. And so they're deciding to stay single. They're off the dating apps as well.
wow.
And I happened to meet my boyfriend by accident at a Super Bowl party from mutual friends.
Cool.
And it was that kind of connection where I was like, okay. And he was vetted by my
Mm,
brothers and a bunch of people there.
that matters a
So it
lot.
it does. It does. It's because it's scary, and when there's a lot of comedians who use this joke and talk about it, they say, what men are afraid of on a date is being embarrassed. What women are afraid of is being killed.
Yeah. No, I understand that fear. I do. The only point I was making earlier is that so many people have talked about that so much where now I think the fear has risen to a level where it's like all consuming and it
Yeah.
just leads for really bad relationship outcomes. And then like I think you nailed it. The male side is like worried about being embarrassed. That too has been dramatically exaggerated. So now men are like overly afraid too. It's a bit of a very sticky situation.
We're in a mess. We're in an absolute mess. And I think the fact that we are so connected all the time to all of these topics doesn't help us because we are absolutely flooded with information at all times. And we're not meant to have this much information flying at our brains at all times. I actually drive around now without music, without a podcast. It is silent.
Mm,
And I need that because the rest of my day is going through content to see what's happening. What can I make content on? What can I film? How long do I have to edit? So that when I get in a car, it's just me and my thoughts. And I
uh,
come up with some really good ideas
oh, I
when
bet.
I'm in my car.
Probably some of your best ones, I'm sure. Because
I really do.
yeah, I try to do the same practice with like my walk to the gym. I now unless I have to have headphones in for a call or something, I try to walk without headphones, and it obviously that sounds so silly and such like tech dystopia that that's even something I have to say out loud, but I have noticed that that does make a massive difference in terms of
Yeah,
how it
we're
feels.
rarely disconnected. We're
Mhm.
rarely disconnected at any point in time. And so, I'm off my phone 11 p.m., nothing. And then when I wake up the next morning, I can do Wordle and connections and then nothing for the first half hour just to like let my brain wake up.
Keith, you there?
Yeah, I was trying to find whatever it was in my head as a question, and I lost it. Um, uh,
Your audio's
yeah,
cutting out for me, I can't really
I
hear
lost
you.
it.
You're good, you're good. You're good. So Jessica, then we've talked a lot about things that are broken, but what are things that excite you about things that are happening right now? Like, what are some good stories that you have for us, if any?
I have seen a resurgence in young people being interested in politics and voting. And that makes me so happy. When I was growing up in the 80s, the only way we knew about politics was a newspaper or the nightly news. And we weren't touching either of those because there were too many fun things to do back then. So I didn't really know about politics growing up. And now kids do know about politics. They know the future that they want for themselves and they are starting to get more involved. I use this site called the Civics Center, and they are huge on recruiting younger voters. And their data over a number of years shows that when younger people, I'm talking below the age of 24, are registered to vote, they vote in the same numbers as people 50 and over. Because we always say people 65 plus are deciding elections.
Mhm.
And they are because they go out and vote.
Oh, yeah, they're very passionate about it.
Huge. So when younger people are registered, they go out in the same numbers. So I'm doing a push. I can't do it too early before the midterms because people's memories are short. But September is my time where I'm really doing a push where I want to encourage kids to register to vote, to know where their polling place is. Tell me where you live. I will find it for you. So we get them out and they decide the future they want, not somebody 65 and over who might not be voting in the best interest of the younger people and will be long gone while these consequences are still in effect. So that's my thing.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think that the youth getting educated on the systems that they're forced to navigate through is a very, very important thing. And I think the older demographics controlling the elections is a big part of it because they also control most of the resources too. Whereas a young person, when you can't have had the time to accumulate resources, one of the biggest resources you have is your vote, like you had mentioned.
Yes, yes. And so it was very important to me, especially when I started teaching seniors, to talk to them about finances because I let them know that at every twist and turn, people are trying to get you to buy. They are trying to separate you from your money. And we had little gambling pods in our school with cards where, we would have to break up these pods of kids all the time who were playing poker and who were betting sometimes hundreds of dollars, and we would say, no, somebody is always trying to separate you from your money, whether it is through gambling, whether it is through buying capitalism, whether it is through credit cards. I said to my kids all the time, let me teach you about credit card usage. Let me teach you about household finances because everybody is trying to separate you from your money.
We talk about the gambling crisis here on the show a lot because it's a big, big thing, especially amongst young men. I'm sure women aren't immune to it at all, but it's definitely a major issue that is continuing to grow. And luckily now people are starting to talk about it a little bit more. Have you come across anything in that realm?
I haven't come across, I see a lot of advertisements for the online
Mhm,
betting
mhm.
and that stuff. I didn't see that happening. It wouldn't have been as clear to me as a teacher, but I did see the poker games. And then I
Yeah.
would hear from the kids on the weekends who lost $500
Whoa.
because they would have huge tournaments. And I'm like, $500? This kid works at Domino's.
That's a month's
Like,
salary.
who is he getting? That's a whole month. Like, where are they getting this money? But the same thing with anybody who's gambling. You always think you have that chance to win it back.
Mhm,
You don't. I live 40 minutes from Atlantic City.
mhm.
I watch people go in and plunk down hundreds and hundreds of dollars and lose it in a half a second. So I would just say to them, somebody's always trying to get between you and your money. So you have to decide to not let them do that.
In schools at the moment, when it comes to the financial literacy piece in general, what have you seen that is a part of the curriculum, and what are the things that are not a part of the curriculum that should be?
Yeah, it's not. New Jersey has a mandated financial literacy class. And I think it varies very much teacher to teacher. So even though they have that class, some teachers will emphasize things more than others. A lot of what I was seeing was people emphasizing how to do taxes. Okay, well, you can hire someone who is an expert in that. Let's talk about how to use a credit card. Let's talk about how to budget. And I haven't seen as much of that. Now, I will say that I've never sat in on a financial literacy class. I'm going based on what my students have told me they wanted to learn and then what they did actually learn. And it was separate. So that's why I started doing, telling them if you go to college on college campuses, there will be tents every 10 feet from a credit card company who will hand you an application and let you get approved on the spot for $500. Well, guess what? They'll see that you'll run it up to $500 and then they'll say, you know what? We'll give you an extension to 1,000. And then they'll see you go up to 1,000. So I said, it's a trap. Don't do it. And that's the practical stuff that I think my kids were looking for because whenever I had conversations about that or budgeting for a house or rent, they were tuned in.
fascinating. This was something that I mean, Ben and I have both spent out, and I did a pod a few years ago that was specifically opposed to as an educator in Brooklyn, and we were trying to talk to people about. Um, Basically, we wanted it to serve as a piece that kids could listen to, right, while some sort of a class or in an after school to learn about finance in the time that they had. But it just we had conversations with people about like why is this stuff not in schools? How could teachers bring this stuff in schools? And it's super sad. I was talking to a guy who's in our space about this on his podcast, and it's like, how is it that we're supposed to be preparing kids for the world, and the entire time that they're in school, 15, 15 years, whatever, 18 years, whatever, I guess not 15 years, um, at no point we touch on the thing that one of the most important things, right? Like,
Hmm.
how do you, uh, the thing that we're to get all the things that survive, uh, how does that not get touched on, right?
Hmm.
So, anyways, yeah, I wanted to hear kind of your perspective on whether or not it's happening. So, is it sufficient? Um, the thing I'll finish is we live in an economic system that is an inflation, right? So there's constantly more and more money. Can you guys hear me? It's trying to reconnect.
It's glitching out a little bit, but I'm piecing it together. Context
Yeah.
clues.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, so we can you are cutting in and out, Keith, but we can hear you here and there. Just a little bit like a robot.
Ah, oh no. Inflation. Money is worth less over time. If you don't invest, you're losing money. But no one is taught how to invest.
Yes.
No one is taught that that's actually the standard if you're be able to survive and move forward in life.
Right.
So, anyways, I don't know if you guys are hearing me. Just
Yeah,
something
we
that I think
got
is
that. And
fascinating.
that's an important part of it too, because, when you're 17, 18 years old, you don't think about what it's going to be like when you're 65 and you retire. And so I would always use myself as an example for my students where I got my job at this school. And then one person who's now one of my best friends came up to me and she said, "Hey, listen, there's a guy down the hall who is from an investment company." She goes, "You're going to go meet with him. You're going to put money in there. You're not going to touch it until you retire. And every time you get a raise, half of that raise is going to go into that account." And I was like, "Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Jess." But she was absolutely right, because then when I did retire, I never touched that money. And then I reinvested it when I retired. And so now that money that I never thought about is my cushion for when I fully retire at 65. But kids, the 20 somethings right now are so much in debt from college, from credit cards, from buying absolute nonsense on impulse, that they don't have spare money to invest. Some of them are trying desperately to get an apartment and to live on their own. When we're talking about, $2,000 a month, it's a lot of money. And I say, no matter how small it is, if you could put anything away for the long term, do it. But that's so amorphous for them. It's so far away. It's something for me to say to my kids, "Here's my real life example," but that's 40, 50 years away for them, and it's tough for them to grasp it. I tried the best I could. I would put up a whole budget on the board and said, say if you make the median income, which is $62,000, and you want to buy a house, average home price, $400,000. Well, guess what? You can't have 50% of your take home pay going to your home. It's not going to work. You'd be house poor. So then we'd go to an apartment and I would show them all the things that need to be paid when you're living in a home or an apartment. And I would get to the end and I'd say, "Okay, how much do you have left over at the end of the month for you?" They're like, $100. I said, "There's something missing that I didn't put on the board anywhere. What was it?" It was always a boy who would say, "Food. I didn't eat." you didn't put food up there. I was like, oh, are you going to live on $100 a month for food? They're like, no, that's a week. It's like, okay, so let's talk about budgeting. Let's talk about doing what you can in this economy, which is stacked against them in so many ways.
Yeah, that's another recurring topic. It's just the state of the world. Keith, you got something? Go for it.
No, I was just going to say it's a really good point that kids are in debt, right?
Mhm.
Because technically, the financially literate thing to do is to take care of that first, right?
Hmm.
And then
Exactly.
try to move on to investing.
And with how expensive school's gotten
So,
too,
yeah.
like they're coming into the game with so much debt.
And it's predatory. It's at a point where they really can't get out of it. And I would always say to my students, unless you know exactly what you want to do in your career, do not spend $40,000 a year for college when you don't know what you want to do. And you're going to come out with $160,000 worth of debt. Even if you're paying the principal and paying more, your interest is going up so much. I said, you want to wear that sweatshirt and say that I got accepted to Drexel or Temple or wherever, because we're in the Philadelphia area. I said, that's $160,000 sweatshirt.
That's a great way to put it. I should have used that on my sister because
Yeah.
because she did the same sort of thing where she went to school, she incurred a lot of this debt, and I said to before she even went, I'm like, knowing you, Abby, I'm like, I think you're gonna end up being a real estate agent. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like you're gonna go that way. Like, you're so naturally skilled at these things. I feel like you're gonna go that way, and you don't need a college degree to get there. And she went, and she got all the debt, and now she's a real estate agent. And I'm like, we could have saved so much time and money here, Abby, but she wanted the sweatshirt.
Yeah, they do. And I get that point of pride where they can say, hey, look, I was accepted and I'm going here. And they have the picture and all that kind of stuff. But I said, would you pay $160,000 for a sweatshirt? They're like, oh, no, no. And I was like, okay, so let's talk about alternatives, because in New Jersey, we have something called New Jersey Stars, which if you have a certain GPA, and it's not even a 4.0, if you have a certain GPA, you don't have a lot of absences, you can go to community college for free for
Wow.
2 years. 2 years. So I said, there's $80,000 back in your pocket. And then maybe after those 2 years, you'll know what you want to do. And then if you want to spend $40,000, $50,000 a year, great. But you might not want to. So I said, give yourself the maturity of those 2 years to kind of say, oh, I'm glad I didn't do that. I would have parents call me on the side because I taught a lot of them, and they'll be like, Jess, listen, my kid's talking about this. Can you kind of go over this in class a little bit? And I was like, I'm on it. And so I would go through the whole scenario of that and just say, if you live 15 minutes from the campus, why are you paying $10,000 a year to live on campus? And you're going to pay that back over a number of years? Are you insane?
That's really good advice because I had a very different experience while I was going through school. I'm in Canada though, so it is a different whole ball game. But when I was going through school, granted, I'm this was a while ago, but it was basically like if you weren't going to university. So how we don't have community college here. We have like college and then university. That's the split that we have here. And for us, because every teacher had pretty well gone to university, there was this feeling like if you don't go to university, you're essentially like a failure. And so that was a very
Oh,
like psychologically thing where
yes.
kids felt like they had to do that because they were ashamed to say, "Oh, I'm going to." Again, we don't have community college, so college or like going into the
Hmm.
trades. And so
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that from a teacher's perspective, you're like, look at the bigger picture here, not just look what I did.
Absolutely. And I had so many colleagues who were saying the same thing. If you want to do that, great. Just have your eyes open to the fact that you will be paying this off for decades. And as Keith said, you can't invest when you are trying to pay down your debt so it doesn't compound and get worse. And it was just something that I don't think is a conversation that anybody had had with them, that I thought was really, really important. When I went to college, University of Maryland in the late 80s, out of state on campus was 12,000 a year. And now it's 60, 70, $80,000 a year. Really?
Wow,
Really?
that's
That's how much it
crazy.
went up in 40 years. It's all predatory. It's just so I don't know. If you keep people in debt, they don't have a lot of options. They don't have a lot of choices. They are not going to do the things that they would normally do if they didn't have debt.
Yeah, that's crazy. The prices are nowhere near as bad here in Canada, I will say. We do a bit of a better job of keeping things a little more approachable, but that is just insane to even hear. So I know you were childless by choice, but let's say there's a scenario where you did have a child. Would you send them to university today or college?
I think it would depend on the child. It would, I also, like a lot of my friends, would have opened one of those savings accounts when the child is born. I had a lot of friends who did that when their kids were born and just put whatever birthday money, whatever money they had, if they got a bonus, they would put it in so that their kids could go to college and maybe not be debt free, but only have to pay 25% of whatever it was. I think it would depend on a kid because I have a niece who just graduated college not too long ago, and she has risen to the top of enterprise rent a car meteorically in a matter of 18 months and will pay off her debt so quickly, but that's not the norm. So I think it's very much dependent on the kid. I had another niece who was talking about college, and I was like, are you sure you didn't really like going to high school? Maybe try community college for a little bit. And she went for not even a whole semester, and she goes, oh no, I am done with learning. And I was like, okay, well, let's not say it that way, but she has found her niche as well, and it's two totally different things. So it really, really depends.
Yeah, you as a teacher get to see students and their abilities and their trajectory a little bit more objectively, whereas parents are a lot
Oh,
like, I decided what your path is when you were born, and so you're gonna go this route. And that was like I had the same experience. It was decided I was going to university when I was like 4 years old. They're like,
yeah,
you're doing this." And there was no way where I was not doing that in their mind. So it's great to
right.
have a teacher like you because none of my teachers would have like said something like that. So it's very refreshing to hear that.
Yeah, I just felt, when I got to college, I was one of the people who got sucked in by the credit cards because I was like, what? You're going to give me $500 out of nowhere? That's amazing.
Sounds like
And
free money.
so, yeah, exactly. And so I did not have training on that where, it did go up to $1,000 and then it did, and I couldn't pay off the balance. So I was paying the minimum. And at 30 years old, I got myself out of debt. I have never gone back in. If I can't pay it off immediately, I'm not buying it. I treat my credit card like a debit card because I'm like, they're not getting interest out of me. There's no way. And it stops impulse buying. And I would rather spend on experiences. I would rather go on trips than have an expensive purse because who cares?
Yeah, I think that people are starting to wake up to that too. I do feel a little bit of the shift away from like the consumerism culture, the brands and all of that because people have been bought into that for a long time. I do think that's starting to end. There's actually this movement here in Canada where it's called like loud budgeting. And so basically instead of flexing what they bought and the brand that they bought, they're flexing the fact that they didn't buy it because they wanted to save for something else.
I love that. That's amazing. And I guess I'm doing that as well because in my bank account, I have 6 different accounts. And when I get money in, it goes to investments, it goes to travel, it goes to rent. And once it's in those categories, it can't leave.
That's
And
awesome.
I don't break it. And that's something where, I always want to make sure I have secure housing. So the biggest chunk always goes to rent. I've actually put enough in for the next 2.5 years of rent.
That's awesome. So much peace of mind.
Oh, yeah, I'm a lunatic though.
Nice.
That's you're supposed to have 6 months worth of your bills, but I said if something catastrophic happens to me, I don't want to be homeless. I don't want to be a burden on somebody else. And so I said that's the most important. Then I put it in investments, then I put it in travel.
I think that makes a lot of sense. One of the things that I did want to touch on is like just the whole universe. I really think that reframing is so powerful and it really reveals what's actually being sold. Because we're obviously all aware of the fact that when I'm at a university right now, it's kind of hard to get a job.
Mhm,
But the question I think is, it's still worth going.
mhm.
Like, are you better off without that? But when you're a kid and you're 8 years old, 17 years old, and you're going through this process, basically what I'm trying to walk back, high school is like the biggest affinity to these universities. Like they are the high selling of whether or not you should go to university is actually taking place. It's happening there. Am I breaking
Mhm.
up a lot?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
but
okay, but we're still piecing it.
yeah, so you basically said that these high schools are essentially like affiliate marketers for these universities. That's what I've heard so far.
Yes. Yes. And so the sweatshirt, like at our school, you put your name on the board for where you were going to university. And if you had asked me if I was willing to pay 100 just to be able to put my name on the board to the University of Miami, like I probably still would have said yes. Like I probably would have paid for it.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and it depends on the kid. It
Um,
really does,
it's
where some kids had to do it. I don't know what it was within them where, they would just have to do it. But some kids were like, "Oh my God, I never thought of it that way." And here's the other thing. We had a lot of kids who went out of state or in upstate New Jersey, paid $40,000 a year, and then didn't like it and transferred back down to where we are to go for $8,000 a year. So they have that $40,000 that are on, their credit for now. So I just wanted them to think about it differently. I'm not going to change anybody's mind per se. I wasn't persistent about it. I just said, here's a different way to look at it. And I hope you look at it differently and make a decision that's right for you.
I think that's one of the best ways that you could approach it. One thing that I wonder a lot more is that it doesn't seem like a lot of like when I went through university, it didn't really seem like I was getting all that prepared for the job. It kind of was like, here, learn a bunch of somewhat random stuff because you don't know what you're going to be doing in your job, and then your job will basically have to train you. And it didn't feel like I was all that prepared if I didn't do my own external work. And it seems like that's the case for a lot of generic programs. And
Mhm.
so with the price tag keep going up and you're getting less and less equipped for the workforce, like why aren't more people mad at like those academic institutions?
Yes, where you have a liberal arts degree that costs almost $200,000.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is that so okay?
Yeah, it's not. And so that's why I always said to kids, if you don't know definitively in your heart what you want to do, which can change, do not put out that money for a liberal arts degree that might not even put you in the direction that you want to go in. Why would you do that? Do it much cheaper. Go through New Jersey Stars. And then we also, in South Jersey especially, have a really big push for CTE programs, college and technical education. My school had plumbing classes, electrical engineering, construction, law enforcement. We had all of these classes, and those kids will get out with they get some kind of OSHA certification. There's another certification. So they graduate high school with these certifications, and then they can go right into the apprenticeships and then start making big money within a year, 2 years.
Yeah, I think the trades are going to become an increasingly relevant thing again for younger people. There was this like when I was going through school, I think they were wrongfully seen as like not as good, which is obviously went too far the other way. And so I'm sure there's going to be
Mhm.
some sort of course correction. But that's so cool. You can get certified while you're in high school still. It's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it is great. And, there was a huge push. Everybody had to be college ready. Well, not everybody wants to go to college. Not everybody should go to college. Not everybody doesn't have to go to college. But that was a huge push for, I'd say, about 10 years, where we used to have honors, college prep, and then a general ed. They got rid of the general ed. I was like, wait a minute, that kid's family owns a septic pumping system. Why are we putting him in college prep English? Like, he doesn't need it. I want to help him read a manual and a contract and make sure that he knows all of these practical things. I'm not going to teach him Beowulf. Like, we got rid of those classes and now they're coming back.
So how would you go about attempting to fix or solve education? Like I know you touched on it briefly. I know it's a very big thing, but like what are things that parents should be asking for?
Well, here's the one of the big issues I've seen in education. A lot of the things that used to be on families and parents are now being put on the schools, like teaching financial literacy, like emotional regulation. Maryland just passed an edict that teachers have to potty train kids who come into pre-K and K if they're not potty trained. So all these things that used to be done in the home are now coming into the school. And so I really think we need to do something where we're not in charge of every aspect of a kid's life. It's too much. And I'm glad we're helping kids, but it's become unwieldy. It's become a job, as I said before, we get things added on every single year without time or compensation added on. And I just think that is such an awful thing to do to people who are so enthusiastic to go into teaching and then leave disappointed. So I would really love to change the narrative of there's been a big push recently to label teachers as glorified babysitters, as not professionals, as indoctrinators. When I do videos about the Gay Straight Alliance, I'm called a groomer and a pedo. And I'm like, where did you get that? So there are narratives coming out now to demonize teachers, and that needs to definitely stop. When I have people from other countries saying to me, you know, oh my God, I can't believe the narrative about teachers in your country. Here, we are on par with doctors. And I'm just like, yeah, not here. It's a whole different ball game here. So I would love to change the narrative about teachers. And when people say to me, you guys are glorified babysitters, you get all these days off, you don't really do anything. And I'm like, then become a teacher. So why aren't you a teacher? If it's such an easy, lucrative job, why are you not a teacher? Do you have kids? Are you encouraging them to go into teaching? You're not. Why is that? Oh, interesting. So I think the narrative has to change. I also think we need to compensate teachers fairly to pull in the best and the brightest and get them to stay. Because what I learned over 32 years of teaching, I didn't have a mastery of even a little bit in my first 5 years at all. And we're losing teachers before they hit that 5 year mark. And so they just don't get to develop who they are as teachers. And an experienced teacher has so many questions that have already been asked, and so many assignments that have already been done, and so many exemplars that they've already graded where they can really help kids. But we're chasing them out for so many reasons. So I would really want to focus on that and fix that.
That's very solid points all across the board. I love the rebuttal of like, if it's so good, why don't you go do it? I think there's so much of that all across the internet where everyone always likes to throw stones and they clearly don't know everything that's going into it, or they haven't been there on the ground, like seeing what all of you deal with. Like, it, the empathy is very, very low. But at what point does this reach a breaking point? Because I've seen that, at least here in Canada, really great people are still being attracted to the profession, but like you said, they're not sticking around oftentimes. So, like,
Yeah.
at what point does it reach a breaking point?
We're kind of getting there right now. So there has been a push for the past 50 years. Um, Heritage Foundation has been behind it almost the entire time. They published it all in Project 2025. And as I said before, I read the education section of Project 2025, and they lay it all out. They want public school funds to be funneled out of public schools to go to charter schools and private schools. And what happens is that when you take that public money for that school out of the school still has operating costs. They still have to pay the teachers. They still have to provide food. They still have to turn on the lights and have air conditioning and heating, but all that money's going. So one of the places that has had universal vouchers, Florida, Arizona, they're seeing budget shortfalls to the point where they are closing schools in huge numbers. So as the money is being pulled out for vouchers, sometimes in the tune of 8 to 9 to $10,000, Those schools cannot operate with that money gone, and they close. And then those kids get shipped to the closest school, which means the class sizes increase. And then more people want to take advantage of the vouchers because their kid is in a class of 40. And so they pull money out of that school, and then that school eventually has to close. So as these schools close, these kids who are getting vouchers are going to these private schools who don't have to accept everybody, who don't usually have special education programs. And so they're going to these schools, which could raise their price at any time. And then the voucher isn't really going to help. It's a mess, and it's a mess on purpose. And it is really something that I think is being a catalyst to how we are dismantling public education in general right now. And then the absolute decimation of the Department of Education is awful as well. And a lot of people, when I make videos about it, they'll use talking points. They're not listening to what I'm saying. They're waiting to give their talking point, and they're saying, I want the Department of Education dismantled because we need to bring it back to the states. Oh, you sweet summer child. It is at the states, and it has been at the states. All you're doing is telling me that you don't know what the Department of Education does. So the decisions like curriculum, testing, graduation rates, all of that is already at the states. So they give the talking points, they don't know what they're talking about, and then that narrative just gets pushed and pushed. Oh, we lost Ben.
You lost me?
Then you lost your
Just your
yeah, you
picture.
lost your camera.
Okay, I'll refresh. Keith,
Yeah.
take over.
And I can see it on the stream as well, just so you know. Yeah.
Okay.
So what's going on in my head is like, what's the justification that's being made for why to pull the money out of the public schools? Is it like they're trying to create a reset, or like how do they justify that?
Great question. So they're saying that parents should have a choice where their kids can go. And so originally it was packaged as, if you are in an underperforming district or a district that is in a poverty area, parents should have the choice to then pull their kid out of that underperforming school and put them in a different school. Sounds wonderful. The income threshold in these states with universal vouchers is not there. So people who were already sending their kids to private schools for $20,000 a year would get a $9,000 coupon. Their kids were never in the public school, but now that money, because they live in that district, that money is going to them and their private school. So it was marketed as, we will help you if you are in an underperforming district, but that is not how it is playing out at all.
Keith, you there? Can you hear Keith, Jessica?
No.
Okay, I can't either. We're having tons of glitches today with the streaming software. Always fun, always fun.
Yeah, right.
So then, because we noticed that too in terms of more on your point before, where people just come to repeat their talking points, right? Which makes it almost impossible to have a conversation, because people are just listening for something that they think they know, so that they can tell you that and tell you why
Yeah.
you're dumb. So it's like, how do you even, like, I'm sure you run into this all the time. Have you had
Every day.
any success in like breaking through to people that are like that?
I have. And that's why people ask me all the time, why are you so active in your comment section? And I said, because I've had people email me beyond the conversation we had online, and then I can have a real conversation with them. One woman said, I am not sending my daughter to the public schools in my area because they are teaching sex in second grade. I was like, oh God, really? Like, okay. And so I said, Jess, be patient. Maybe you can break through. And I said, give me the name of the district and give me the name of the school. And she gave it to me. I went on their website. I found their curriculum. There is nothing about sex in second grade. Doesn't even happen till sophomore year. And then as we go through the whole thing, she goes, oh, well, it's not in the health classes. It's actually in social studies. And I'm like, what? And she goes, yeah, it's in the third grade social studies. All right, moving the goalpost. So I said, let me go look at third grade social studies. I go there. It's not in third grade social studies. She said, oh, well, the teachers are doing it beyond the curriculum. So I said, you mean to tell me that there's a group of teachers in a school who are all keeping quiet about their desire to teach sex to third graders, and none of the kids are diming them out, and the administration must be on board. So I said, this is a whole conspiracy. And then we talked offline, and she said, oh my God, I saw this on the local Facebook page. And I was like, okay, well, I'm glad you don't believe it now. But even now, when people say, we need to bring education back to the States, when I would tell them it is at the States and here's why, then they pivoted to, well, it's not a right that's guaranteed in the Constitution. And then I had a whole bunch of constitutional scholars in my comments section. And I was like, can we focus on one thing at a time, please, so I can debunk one thing at a time?
Yeah, honestly, kudos to you for putting in that time and effort, because that's something that I used to do a lot more when I started social media, but now I'm just like, this is gonna take too much time. So I definitely commend you for your patience, because the problem that people don't really grasp is that they don't understand the power of the incentive structures for where attention is currently gained, right? And so, like,
Mhm.
even if someone comes and makes like the local Facebook whatever, and they coming from a very good place, they whenever they post something that is more sensationalized or extreme, they're gonna get the most attention for that, and so then they don't even
Yes,
realize it's taking place. Now they're incentivized to go crazier and more crazy and more crazy,
you're right.
and that happens all the time. So more people need to be like you, but it's so exhausting when you try to do it.
It is. It is. And I actually blocked the guy yesterday because we were going through this conversation. I said, all right, Jess, maybe, maybe. And by the third or fourth time, he just kept being very condescending and saying, like, as a teacher, I expected more from you. As a
Spare
teacher,
me.
you should know better. And I was just like, you know what? I had some choice words for him. And then I finally said, dude, I'm done. I'm done, and blocked. And then he goes on my other platform and says, she blocked me because I was telling the truth. I was like, no, it's because you're insufferable.
Yeah, it's where we've gotten to on social media, where everyone is certain that they're certain, and
Yes.
like, and none of us have the answers too, right? Like the hubris that's present across everywhere. The one thing that I always reference is the Dunning-Kruger effect. Are you familiar with that?
Yes. Yes.
We're all in a state of the Dunning-Kruger effect, where like everybody online is at like the peak,
Yeah.
the max ignorance, so they feel the most
They're
conviction in their
wrong and
opinions.
loud. And that's a bad combo.
It's why the internet is so insufferable at this point. It's because everyone is like
Yes.
that. But it's so fascinating because I always try to, because I work in social media, I always try to get a feel for like, okay, my friends in real life, like what is your social media persona? Because a lot of people, they're so radically different. Like even when I get comments from people, or even here in this chat, I'm like, I know you wouldn't say this to my face.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I know you would
Yes.
not. Or if this was a two-way conversation, you would not pull that crap, because I would call you
Nope.
out. You know
Nope.
what I mean? So it's a difficult thing. I don't know how we go about fixing it, but I think conversations like this are a fantastic start. And I hope that even people hearing you say the experience that you go through will allow them to gain some empathy for people like you, right? Talking, but I have dreams, so I'm hopeful.
Yeah. I'll just be happy if they stop calling me the C word, So
That's crazy.
yeah, that would be great.
They in comments they're doing stuff like that.
Oh yeah, yeah. People have said I should be in the bottom of a river in a box. And I'm just like, are you that fragile?
That is it.
I put facts, like research, and I've given you the resource, and then your comment to me is that, like, take a little self inventory. Maybe go touch grass, pet a dog, and then come back.
Like, even let's say, even if I'm wrong and that's your response, that's crazy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it is. It really is.
That's wild. Well, I know we're coming up on our time here with you, so I just want to make sure that everyone can go follow you on all the places where you create content. Where is the best place for someone to go and get more of Jessica in their life?
I'm most active on TikTok and Instagram. It's at my teacher face. My audience on Facebook for my teacher face skews much older, so probably not your audience. And then I'm also on YouTube, but not as much as I am on Instagram and TikTok.
Amazing. So links to that, to both those accounts, are in the description box. The first links down below, so very easy for you to find. Go over there, give a follow, and let's get some positive comments going for the contributions that Jessica's trying to make to fight out all the negativity, because I think you deserve it. I think you're doing a lot of good work, and I think
Thank
at the
you.
very least, even if people strongly disagree with you, like, how can you argue that you're at least trying to pursue progress? And I think so many people yell at the problem and don't try to pitch a solution, and I have no time for that.
Yeah, neither do I. I sometimes have to absolutely turn off my phone and walk away.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'll throw it over to you, Keith.
Yeah, no, we really appreciate it, Jessica. We'll be watching everything you're doing, and as things that happen that are relevant to this, we'd love to have you back on, and just in general to come and hang out with us as well.
Mm,
Absolutely. I would love to. Thank you so much.
amazing. If you
Cool.
ever have a news thing that's dropping out and you want a place to talk about it, you let us know and we'll make sure we can get you on.
Awesome. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you, Jessica. Have an awesome week.
All right.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Just tap leave whenever, and then you're good to go.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right, you too.
All right.
Fantastic.
She's super cool.
Yeah, man. All the way. I think I switched my Wi-Fi, so I think you guys should be able to hear me now.
So apparently they could hear you the whole time. So it was, which is so strange that we couldn't hear you and they could.
Yeah, that's fascinating. But yeah, so a couple things that she touched on that Ben, you've also touched on before. One of the things is like this idea that people who are trying to like help young people serve as mentors or whatever are sometimes getting labeled really nasty things. She talked about how with the gay straight alliance thing that she was being called a pedo, or that people bring those kinds of things into the conversation. And that's tough, right? Because that's like you won't even step into the arena, right?
No,
If
that's
that's
the
the
ultimate trump
chance of,
card. Yeah, you're out.
yeah. If there's a chance of that being what you're labeled, you won't even step to the plate at all. So that's a really big problem for mentorship across the board. It was one of the things that I wanted to bring up that she talked about. I guess just like that whole college conversation, and then obviously the dating thing we could go on and on about as well.
Mhm.
But the college thing, man, like I really, really think that if you had posed to me, yeah, you'll pay 160 grand, but you get to write your name on the board, you get to wear your sweatshirt to school for the day, whatever day, the college announcement day. And it's just like, bro, there's been such an experience, at least in my school, that was just developed around you're going to university. And if you're not, you're getting absolutely humiliated.
Dunked on. Yeah. Oh, I had the exact same experience, but I was super lucky where I kind of saw that it was horse shit. And I was really only going to play football. Like, if I didn't play football, I don't know if I would have gone to school. My parents probably would have made me. But I also saw some of my like a lot older peers that I knew were, how can I phrase this? Like, basically we're told that if you go to school, you are like a higher achiever or like great. Love a lot of the people I'm referring to, but they were not great in terms of like like professionals. Do you know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, if you got through that program, clearly this can't be what you're telling me that it is. If that guy did, do you know what I'm saying?
Super fair. Super, super fair. Yeah, it's a tough thing that like I remember because when I was going through high school, it was starting to become a thing that like people are like, oh, don't go to university, da da da. And one of the obvious sayings was like, if that person's not living the life that you want to live, then like don't listen to what they have to say.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's a very extreme take on the situation because there's totally always things to take away from people, regardless of whether or not they're living the life that you want to live.
Yeah, I think you learn from everyone.
Yeah.
But I do think.
But
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no.
Yeah, I think that. I think we try to learn a lesson and we think that there's like an end point to a lesson. But even when something you learn that you feel like is a universal truth, it's an adaptive universal truth, right? Like, because nothing is static, including us within this experience too, right? So even the execution of a universal truth is dependent on the environment that it's in as well too. So I get why the world is so messed up because of how many things are changing so rapidly, and we can all talk to each other, which is like a gift, but also a difficult thing to deal with because we're having different conversations while having the same conversation. So it's really, really hard.
Totally. Um, a couple comments I wanted to
Yeah, go
point
for it.
out.
I don't have the chat anymore, so feel free to throw them up.
Yeah, yeah, I don't either.
You lost it too? That's so stupid.
Yeah. Thomas Divine said, I'd say anything to your face because I'm banned off of most social media. LOL.
Yeah. I responded to him saying that's too funny.
That's
We
great.
definitely will try to have in-person episodes eventually as the show grows and as it makes sense to do so. I think that'd be super cool.
Most definitely. Um, and then Wes said, so many people think going to school means they deserve something in the real world. It's so sad. Even with law school, I realize we are not owed or really even prepared for anything. He said, JD MBA program, and I still got to figure this out on my own. I'm built for it, but most really aren't. 125,000% agreed, bro.
Yeah.
Saw it left and right throughout university, and I was just like, I mean, my approach was like, none of this is that serious. Like none of this is actually going to lead to none of the material in school is going to lead to like the outcome that y'all are here for. So why are you taking this so seriously, bro? Like, relax.
How did you come to that place?
I mean, it was just because I was doing stuff, right? And I knew that that was what I was learning to do. And it's like none of this is that, so it can't really matter. So yeah, it was just but like the level of like, look, I was like the kid who like didn't care, I guess, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it was kind of cool to be that way in some
Mm.
ways, but at the same time it was just like I'm actually doing shit. Excuse my language.
No, you're
You know
you're
what I'm
good.
saying?
I
So
say
why
way
are y'all
worse things than
tripping?
that. You're good. Yeah, I'd say I had a very similar experience where even when I was in classes that I only went to if there was attendance marks, like I was working on my business and stuff. Like I was trying to check the boxes to get this thing to make the people happy, whatever. But yeah, it's so many things can be avoided by just like paying attention and thinking critically, which is also why it's so scary that we're not teaching. I guess we never really were teaching people how to think, but it's even more so now because even when people come to, and I see this every day where I, it's evident that people don't know how to think when you have to give them like every step in a process for a task to be achieved. Right? So like that's how you show that I know you don't know how to think. Because I can give you a task, Keith, and with very little context, you do it well. Because you know how to think.
And a big part of that too is, and it all ties in, it's just the confidence too. Because I
Very
used to be like
fair.
that. You know, like I 100% I would be like that. I'd ask questions and come back and keep asking until finally something got done.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
questions aren't a problem. But I think the questions that get asked typically tell you the level of effort that has gone into it independently.
for sure, for sure, yeah. Um, but yeah, it all comes down to like kids need to go and fail more. They need to just go and eat crap more because it's just like
Yes.
you're not building confidence until you do that.
In every realm of life, right? Like if you're the athlete that's never played in a big game until you do that, you think it's this massive thing that can make you perform poorly for like academics or like learning. You gotta be dumb for a while or like not know what you're talking about until you do, right? And the Dunning-Kruger things we talk about so much, but like I want a lot more people to fall off of the peak of ignorance. Do you know what I mean? Because you gain a different level of respect for anything that you're working on when you truly commit to like being bad at something until you're good. But a lot of people have not really gone through that because with social media, you get the feeling of competency without the work of it, right? Because someone can watch a 30-minute YouTube video. And so since that person did the whole thing and made the video, they're like, I now know this.
Right.
Right? It's like, no, dude, I went through so many things to determine like what even should be in the 30 minutes. And yes, of course, you're closer than I was at the start, but it's not the same.
Totally. Praveen, you're putting some interesting thoughts into the chat. I'd like for you to, it'd be awesome if you organize them because I can tell you're saying something, but I don't want to assume what you're actually saying. It sounds like you're making an argument for why people would want to go to college and university, and it's actually real. So please put this together for us. And then Wes also followed up. He said, when you get exposure to realize that life, work, slash what you want to do at a young age, it's so hard to take school seriously, right? When you realize what real life is what he's saying. When you get exposure to real life
And
and work.
You see how it
Yeah.
doesn't correlate.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I also was lucky where I saw my dad didn't finish university, and he was like one of the smartest people that I knew, and like one of the
Mm,
most successful financially, right? So I was like in our like immediate peer group because he ran his own business, he did really well for himself, and so yeah, I was like, okay, well, clearly university, but even he was bought into the lie. Like I've talked about before, where he was like, he thought his life would be bigger and more grand had he finished school. And I'm
right.
like, brother, you probably would have had debt and like forced down jobs where you couldn't have made what you make now. But for him, it was still such a big deal. And so he's like, granted, he had to work really hard to grow his business, and it was a construction business. So like his body was also beaten down. So that's
Mm,
why he was like, Ben, you're gonna make your money in a at a desk. And he was right. But it wasn't through, it's like I think a lot of times parents are trying to give the best advice they have. Like, even when my dad was like, you have to go to university, it's because he knew I was capable of it. Right.
right.
But it stopped there. Like he didn't listen to me when I told him it was stupid. That's where it ends.
That's a really good that's a really good thought too, because like the older people are like, "Oh, you're so smart, so you should go to school."
Yeah, and I'm like, I
Is
should
the
go.
conclusion.
Yeah, I'm like, if you really think I'm smart, I should not go to school.
Yeah, exactly. Because you don't need that.
Yes,
Wow.
which is why I literally, so I had to maintain a 70 average to stick in the internship program, and I graduated with like a set, or the first year with 70.1. I finished to stay in the program, like barely staying in there, and I was like super proud of that. I'm like, I did the least that I had to do to achieve my outcome. But he was like, and he was like going around telling everyone about how I was being so lazy because of that. I'm like, I executed my plan perfectly. I'm like, this is good. You got what you wanted. I got what I wanted.
Totally. Praveen, he said C's get degrees
Yeah.
a little bit earlier.
How were your academics in uni?
Yeah, no, it was the same thing. It's like that was my philosophy was like I'm not gonna fail this class. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? Because then I can't get through it. You know what I'm saying? That's the only reason why I don't want to fail is so that I don't have to repeat the class. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? But I had one class, my first semester freshman year, I think it was. And it was like a 9 a.m. or an 8 a.m. And like I guess this is probably standard, but like if you don't show up to a certain amount of classes, that alone can
You're
fail you.
cooked. Yeah.
And so it was a freaking Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 a.m. And like, bro, it's Thursday nights. I'm going out. I'm freshman year, bro. I'm
Oh
not
yeah, yeah,
showing
yeah.
up to that 8 a.m. on a Friday.
No shot. Why do they even schedule that, man?
And so, anyways, eventually, I failed a class just off of that. And I was like, okay, all right, I see how this works now. I got to show up the class. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, man, I'm just trying to get through this thing so that I get this
It's
piece of
done.
paper and people shut up.
Yeah, man.
But but yeah, I like that thought that like if you see the young kid that's actually smart,
Yeah.
like, do they need to go to university then?
So there's some really good points in the. I wish the tech didn't break so I could throw up the comments. So I'll do my best to read them here. So Lean Entertainment said, before the internet, there was no choice but to go to school or to go to work. So like that's also a big
That's fair.
argument for my dad's perspective, right? Is that he didn't they didn't even know the world that we were living in, right? And kids are dumb, right? So like I understand why he didn't listen to me, but like there was not even an attempt to. They're just like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. You're a kid. So like I totally get everyone's perspective. And then Praveen said, yeah, I agree. I'm hearing what you're saying. There's only 2 to 3 of the smartest kids in the class. I knew in the 7th grade I wouldn't be as smart as Adam Freda. that's
Dang, called
that's
them out by name.
that's awesome. Yeah, but the thing is, I think that the school system does a disservice to kids convincing you that this matters that much. Do you know what I'm saying? Like your academic in that institution, like how important is that really? And then Tux said, to be devil's advocate, wouldn't you agree until the mid 2010s, if you were decently smart and went to college, you would have an above quality life? Yeah,
Yeah,
I do agree with that. But I went to
yeah.
school in the mid 2010s and I was saying this is not real anymore, and no one was listening. But that's a great perspective.
Yeah, I guess that is super fair. Like we're kind of like the first ones where
Yes,
it actually was
didn't
not making sense.
radical change, right? Like,
Yeah,
but truthfully, like only the kids could know that.
that's true.
Right? Like that's why I will try my best if I ever have children. I will try to not assume my competence just simply because I'm older. 'Cause, like,
Yeah.
oftentimes that's a con when things move this fast. I learned that when I started my agency was that really why I focused so much on social media was because even when I had competence in other realms, I was just assumed to be ignorant because I was young. So I was like, "I have to go to where my youth is seen as a pro." And it took a little while, but social media was one of those things.
Yeah, man. Super, super fair. But yeah, it's like the internet itself making all of the information accessible. And oh, that was the other thing that Jessica touched on that I thought was actually kind of interesting. Like having if you wanted the kids to have read something, you literally have to sit them down and read with them. And something about that to me was like, I mean, maybe that's kind of what you need to do in school. Like you need to train kids to be able to pay attention to stuff
Yeah,
at this point.
it's tough though, because as she was saying that, I've never read a book that was given to me from school. Like, I got through my whole high school thing never reading a book that they gave me. I read my own
Wow.
books that I wanted to do, but even, like, on the paper reports, I'd watch the movie and quote that in in the essay. One time I actually lost 10% because I quoted a quote that wasn't in the book. It was it was only in the movie. So, like but I didn't have a focus problem, I had an interest problem. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like, I'm like, "This is stupid, I don't care if I can watch the movie and get, like, 80% grade." So you got yeah, I think you're right, you gotta, like, account for those things because and I saw an earlier comment too being like, "How is this any different? Kids would have cheated before." Now, I totally agree with that, and there's a lot of times where I cut corners in school. So it's like if you don't account for those things, then they inevitably will happen. And now they're at, like, crazy levels with the AI.
Yeah. Yeah, the AI stuff is next level.
It's insane.
Um, but yeah, man. I mean, gosh, it's just such a fascinating thought because we're spark noting stuff like, but that just wasn't an option before. And for
Mm-mm.
people who don't know, because the young kids might not even know what a spark notes is, but it's just a site that you would go to and it would give you the book summary.
Basically, yeah,
So,
with
like, I'm not
quotes
reading that
and
book.
pages. Yeah. Yeah. Totally. That's why I literally didn't read a single book from school, because that stuff existed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I'm not saying
So
that like, I think I'm any better. Like, I would be using AI right now too.
totally.
Like,
Oh yeah, I'd find a way.
100%. Yeah.
That would be the entrepreneur, and I'd be like, all right, how do you make sure that they can't detect it? And like buying the tools, you know what I'm saying, to like save that time. Totally, man. But so yeah, I'm trying to think there's probably one other thing. I mean, it was definitely interesting stuff around the whole dating stuff. I've been like, I've met someone here who's been like walking down a lot of my thinking, and not even just the thinking, but a lot of things that I haven't thought about enough.
Okay.
And one of the big things has been stuff around dating and um, how society has kind of been set up um, for for instance, let me just give the example that Jessica gave. You come straight out of high school, get married to a guy, don't go to school, don't have any educational skills, have babies, and then someone in the chat was like, and nobody talks about what happens 40 years later, or so, maybe Jessica said that herself,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, she did, I think.
Yeah. So 40 years later, is that still in place? And then the thing that I'm thinking about, because I'm seeing like who she's talking about, like I'm seeing those videos that are like the trad wife
Mhm.
ladies that are like telling people to do that, and like they're always like super dolled up,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
right? Like that's a big part of it is that
It's
they're like these.
so glamorized.
Yes. It's like this is like the pretty girl,
Mhm.
right? That is the Instagram influencer lady.
It's also pretty messed up because they're basically saying, like, this is the solution to your loneliness problem too.
Yes. Right. No, 100%. 100%. Like same way for the guys. It's like
Andrew Tate stuff.
lock yourself in a room and don't do anything and just get rich. It's this. Just be a trap wife.
It's extremes all over the place.
Yeah.
It's crazy. That's why, like, eh, whenever you like, whenever you talk about the dating things and you say like where girls are maybe going astray, it's like when I say that, I know that guys are doing just as much, just the other direction. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I think that it's it's a very complex problem, like with the dating stuff. And I also think that the other big problem is that people do think that online is real life, right? But the loudest people online are typically some of the worst people, right? So because you see it, it seems like consensus, but it's the worst contributors that are the loudest, right? Like the sane man doesn't even participate in the conversation, right? So like I get why girls are like, "Oh, I'm so afraid.
That's
Like
true.
I'd rather be with a gorilla than a man or whatever it was, or a lion, a bear than a man, whatever it was." But it's like your view of a man is so wrong because you're
Mm,
only listening to incels and you're thinking that every man is an incel. Is that a constructive thought exercise? I don't think so. I get why they're there, right? Because whenever they see the comments, they see the craziest shit like she was referring to. But you also got to think about who is that person who's saying that. Do you know what I mean? I don't think enough have done that way on both sides.
yeah, no, super fair. And then some of those videos, right? Like you pointed out, is being sensationalized. Some of it's also just straight fake, right? Like some of those are literally scenarios that people have put together, and
Dude,
they get
it's
viral attention, and so
this kind of content's going to be the only kind of content worth watching as AI continues to improve because now I can this is what content already was. People didn't realize it. They're like basically people subconsciously got pushed towards becoming a validator of someone's internal belief systems or absolving guilt or whatever it is, right? So they would just
mhm.
make the video. Now, as the marketer, I can make that video for every different sub pocket of the internet, right? Like I gave you the example of my friend who she's trapped in a sub pocket about like this the dating ideology stuff, and she put something to her story of like, yeah, all men should be like this, and it was an AI video, right?
Right.
So it's like, why are we even watching this at this point? Because what I said to her, I'm like, this should be really scary because this was made for you. Do you
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you are that easy to take advantage of, do you think maybe you're in an echo chamber?
Yeah, that's crazy, man, to think about that. Like, oh my goodness. Oh
It,
my.
I think the more people become aware of this, I think that short form consumption will continue to go down, which is a bet we've been making on this show the whole time, right? That's why we made the show, period. And I think that people will seek out spaces like this. Not necessarily our show. There's so many other shows that I think will pop up that will become like this because it's the only thing that doesn't feel like it's missing pieces as much. Do you know what I mean? Like, because a lot of the issues are kind of addressed because like we get the counterbalance of the chat, right? Where we get to
Right.
see how people are responding. Of course, there's always going to be some craziness in there, but like it is a good counterweight. And then also we get to see our gaps. Like, what are we missing? What could we add into the conversation? So I think it's just a far better way to consume.
Yes. Go ahead.
Women would choose Terminators over men. Yeah, I don't think that men are as scary as they're made out to be. Of course, there are scary men, and I also don't think that women are nearly as like bad as they're made out to be. I just think that's content that pokes very hurt people, and that emotional reaction is great for engagement, and then in turn, great for growing people's businesses. Like, what is the incentive of someone making this piece of content? Is it to help you, or is it to poke a pain point they know you have so that they can make money from it? Right? That's why I always try to preach conscious consumption and like social media literacy, because when you do that, like you realize almost everything is horseshit.
Most certainly, man. Um, One of the comments that I saw here. Let me see. Okay, Praveen, you've been making these comments that I'm super curious about. So you said that's why dating is so fun. People are so complex, and you've said that dating is fun twice in here. And I just think that that's an interesting framing of like dating. It's fun.
I think it should be something that's fun. Like you're getting to see and learn about people.
I guess that's fair.
But I think
Um,
so many people have different definitions of what dating is.
True. True. Yeah. I would love to, I guess, hear you expand on that a little bit. And maybe it is just supposed to be fun.
Yeah, because the stakes shouldn't be that high because it's not saying that you are bad if you're not a good fit. It's saying that collectively you aren't a good fit, right? Like the stakes have been made so high. What's that?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I guess I've never thought of it that way. I don't think of it as like fun.
Well, now it's framed as like a job, right? And so then now that's why it feels so icky when you go on dates, man. It's because they're playing the role of employer, not partner.
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah. No, I guess I've got nothing that I could define with words after any of that. But
I also think everyone's too serious, man. Like, or they take themselves too seriously.
yeah, I was gonna say, I think like for me, maybe that's where my problem is that I'm too serious, right? So yeah, like fun. I enjoy getting to know people and knowing and learning myself through people,
Mhm.
but I don't know if that shit's fun,
I think it depends on your
brother.
I think it depends on your perspective and what your expectations are out of it too, right? So How Are You Now has a good point. Says it sounds like you're dating just to have fun, not to find a partner. Because that can create a lot of the issues too, right? Because if someone's dating is like, I want to find my partner, and then other person's just dating to like screw around and have fun, like they're both saying they're doing the same thing, but they're doing wildly different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like
So
what Estelle said. If you date with a lighthearted attitude, it can be fun. Don't take it serious until it is serious. I think that's solid.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, How Are You Now says dating is work. It definitely can be, but I think we complicate it a lot more than we need to. Both parts of it. Like I think, and also the tools just make it so like it's not good for like I said this to you, Keith, before, but I'm probably said on the show as well. Social media changed things so much, and it was impossible for things not to go this way when like an average looking girl gets more attention inbound than like celebrities would have like 50, 60 years ago. If you're a pretty good looking girl and you post public photos, there's guys reaching out to you all the time. Like that's gonna make your brain like it can't do healthy things for your brain. Like the same thing would have happened. Like let's say that kind of feedback came from attractive men, right? Like or for attractive men. It does to a degree, but way less. Then men would have become the same thing, right? Like it's just a natural response to stimulus change.
I I'm stuck on the dating is fun thing. Ben,
Go.
Ben, you go to the gym
Mhm.
often. Is it fun?
I find it fun.
Okay. Okay. Because I think that might be the closest analogy that I can find.
I think it's a
Because
solid
for
one.
me, because for me, it's like it's not really like like I enjoy it,
Mhm.
but I don't know that I would call it fun.
Yeah. I th so you enjoy things that aren't fun. That's, like, the crazy thing about language, 'cause even that may be difference in terms of how we interpret those things too.
Totally, totally.
'Cause
That's true.
'cause that's such a like, a difficult thing, like, can you dislike something that's also fun? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, because I mean, it also comes down to like, well, like, I'm thinking like, is it objectively fun? Like, you could say a game, like, I don't like playing games, for instance.
Mhm.
Like, sure, it's fun. But I don't enjoy playing games,
Yeah, I feel
actually.
you. I feel you. You can have fun. Semantics. Yeah, DC for I agree. Uh,
That's fair.
let's get there.
Because like, I look at dating as like, I look at it as that. It's like working out for my ability to relate to people,
Yeah.
to know myself, my ability to be self-aware and the most intimate ways. And so I don't like it's great. It's very enjoyable. It's
Mhm.
like going to the gym. What would I do without it? But I don't know if I'd be like, oh yes, it's fun. And I might be excited to go to the gym, but I might not be like this is fun.
Yeah, I think it depends on the perspectives, where you are, the mood that you're in, who you're going on the dates with would probably dictate a lot of that as well. So yeah, it's a very complex thing, but if we don't solve this stuff pretty soon, like population decline seems like a serious potential threat.
And somebody in the chat, or no, yeah, somebody in the chat was like, "That's the goal." Somebody said, maybe one of you said that. Like maybe that's actually what people, what the powers that be want, is people not having so many babies.
A lot of people believe that for sure. And then of the ones that are easier to control, so you can push agendas and things of that nature easier in future generations. So yeah, who knows? Like there's a lot of conspiracy angles across the board for why things are taking place, because so much of the but I think so much of it comes down to just like money being broken, man. Like I know we talk about this all the freaking time, but I think like even like these evil agendas that we're referring to, one, would they be possible, and two, would they even be needed in a different system? Right? Because it's just a byproduct of attempting to maintain a broken system, and so you have to do even more broken things to keep that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. I'm just thinking about the
The dating
reaction video that I did
for which,
on the girl who was like, "If you're watching this, just gamble."
what about it?
Just that concept of like, she's doing that because she's incentivized to do that, but that's
Yeah,
a very broken thing to
totally.
like promote that people do. It doesn't help anyone. You know what I'm
No,
saying? But herself.
yeah, well, she knows that validating the normalcy of that feeling for all the people that are addicted to gambling, like she knows that will work from a content perspective, right? That's
Yeah.
also how I knew how big the gambling problem was years ago when I started to see that it had reached a point where girls were like putting it in their bio in dating
Mm.
apps, being like,
Oh,
let me make a parlay with you, and I'm like, oh, if it's there, this is a massive problem.
whoa. Yeah, I think you've said that before, but yeah, that's really messed up.
You honestly, dating apps, like one of the best things there is like like market signals, man, like tops and bottoms based on like what people, because like, it's the most primal thing that we have in terms of trying to attract the opposite sex, right? And so like showing what you do, or what, like it shows where the brain is, where society is. So you see a lot from that. From like what do they deem as worthy of putting in their dating profile?
Totally. Um, but yeah, man. So
What it says, dating is like gambling. Y'all need to make a no dice dating app. Could be genius. We have another idea for a different kind of dating app that if if and when we get when we get things sorted for no dice, that we may explore it down the line. But we got a lot of things we're working on.
most definitely.
Do you have anything else?
No, I think that's about it. I just had a couple of things we could go over to react to, and a little bit of news action.
Yeah, go for it. Wubs says minus 200 odds. Ben swipes right on a girl who says, "Let's make a parlay with me." I don't think I would swipe right in any environment like that, unless it's just to ask, like, "Why did you put this in there?" But yeah, it's crazy. But if you want to go into the news, I can try to play the thing. You want to jump into that?
Let's jump into a couple of news items.
Okay, let me find it here. Here we go.
All right, I have one news item. And it's that apparently the European Parliament just passed a chat control proposal allowing private messages to be monitored. Whoa.
Wow. I think a lot of these things happening in these fights for control, very bullish for crypto.
That's fair. I mean, there's going to be a response for sure to that. And like the kids in Australia, when they banned social media, they've got the VPNs, whatever, get around it. Crypto could literally be that for private messaging, period. Yeah.
Yeah, it's this may be a quote from Charles, but the tech can make it so that the conversation goes from, oh, they won't be evil to they can't be evil, right? Like the technology doesn't allow them to abuse their power, which is so unbelievably needed, because as long as there is a choke point that you can apply pressure to for the chance of it being abused, especially as things are collapsing, like that's just going to happen every time. That's why, like in Canada, like it doesn't matter who's in office when things are collapsing and the systems are broken. Like they're always going to perform poorly because everything's broken, right? So like when I say anything negative about Carney, like a lot of my liberal friends are like, "Oh, you think that the right wing would be better?" I'm like, "No, I think the whole thing is broken, man."
Yeah, that's one of the most interesting things is, oh, wouldn't this be better? Wouldn't the other version be better? Wouldn't the opposite side be better? And it's just like, are we trying to do something that's just better? Or are we trying to do something that's the right thing? Are we trying to
Yes,
actually fix the problem? You know?
totally. And in the community section, there's a comment that I think will spark a good discussion. That On our last episode, Keith. So I'll save that till we get there. Did you have any other news?
Um, I think there's a guy who did some commentary on that piece. So let me actually listen to this real quick. It literally just popped up.
Today we are voting about chat control here in the European Parliament. This came also in the past, and we rejected it here in the European Parliament. And they are bringing it again. And this is very scandalous, guys, because we voted already, and now hopefully we stop it. But I'm afraid that behind closed doors, they did some deals with members of the European Parliament, and they will pass it. We'll put the card in.
The vote is open.
Bad news, guys. Chat control passed, even though the majority of the members of the European Parliament voted to reject it. We needed to reach an absolute majority, and we were not able to reach it. Some amendments did pass, though, about the end-to-end encryption messages, so they will not be able to scan those, which that's a good thing. But this is a sad day for freedom.
Yeah, they're. What's up, Keith?
No, I didn't have that other context that this was something that had already been done before.
Yeah,
Or tried.
there's some crazy stuff getting like pushed through in Canada too, at like a fast pace, like so fast where they're like, no time to ask questions, and like historically little reflection on it, right? Like no experts brought in to discuss what these things even mean, right? And record level of limit of access to the people making these decisions. It's sketchy across the board, but with our media environment, you can get away with a lot. So
What if that's the whole reason? Like maybe your thesis, right, around like people have to push back enough is what this is about. Like
it's
Yeah.
it's a potential reality, right? Where they're like, we're gonna make this so absurd because you guys are like they did their job so well, right? Indoctrinating people
Yeah.
so well. They're like, we have to literally torture you until you guys change this.
That could very well be a reality.
Yeah, it could
I don't
be.
know. I think that could totally be something, man.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Because
just
like it's crazy.
all of it is crazy. It's crazy all the time. And I really am hopeful that more spaces like this get created, and this is where people start to consume more of their information. The issue is that people, they want everything in a bite-sized package, man. But look, when you get bite-sized packaging with information, you create catastrophic problems because everyone thinks they know it, but they only saw it from the one angle, and it was their angle. So it's a big, big problem. But I do feel, yeah, we'll probably, you got to think eventually people will rally together because things just get so absurd. I do think a lot about that here, where I'm like, what would make people get off the like solely liberal train? And I don't know what that thing would be. I don't know if I don't even know if it exists, but we'll see. Because they've been in power here for like 10 years. And I'm not saying that any of the other options would have made something better, right? I'm not saying that's the reality whatsoever, because they inherited broken systems. And I'm sure like they made it more broken, but I'm not saying other people wouldn't. But for here, it's like, how do you watch the country go to the shitter over like 10 years and then you elect them again? Right? Like, at least you think you'd want to be at least abused by somebody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's a good point
But
for sure.
I've talked so much about how ridiculous it was that Pierre didn't go on podcasts during the campaign trail. and then now he's coming out publicly and like acknowledging that was a massive mistake, which also leads me to believe that they're all in on it, because like that was so obvious a mistake. Like you live in the game of perception management, and you didn't go to the only place where you had a chance to have any sort of control over that. I don't know. It's mind-boggling to me. And like I've said before, if that was just genuinely bad advice, like that person needs to get a new profession, because that's like horrendous advice. It almost feels like they were like, okay, we'll throw Carney in. Carney can rush, be the guy who forces all of these things into law that are super messed up. Okay, cool. We got what we wanted in there. They now that I can imagine the public completely turning on Carney in a few years and him being labeled the bad guy, because I don't think he really cares. Right. And so as long as they got in there what they wanted, then okay, the public can tear him down. We got to win. Right. We got our guy, and we got Pierre in. And he's like, oh, there's too much to clean up. This is going to take a while. And then they just bought themselves like 5-10 more years. So I don't know. I'm purely thought exercise. I don't know anything.
Fascinating thought exercises, without a doubt. Something moving forward here. There's something that's been going on here on Twitter. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just my feed, but everyone's playing these old clips of crypto stuff because there's nothing happening, I guess. So these guys are like, this is super old. Bitcoin at 35,000. Jack Mallers, it's over. Bitcoin is going to the moon. Bullish. Like, bro, why are you posting this?
Well,
but I guess these pages don't make anything either. So
no, that's one of the reasons why Twitter is trying to make all of these changes, or so they say, is because it has become that, right? Where it's all these aggregator pages. They don't actually create anything unique. And the stupid thing is if we did way more of that, our page would be way bigger.
Right. Yeah.
Which is so stupid. Like, I don't want our page to be that, so we don't, but maybe we should do a little. Like, not like show outdated stuff, but like show news that's currently happening. Do you know what I'm saying?
Or even just give the context, bro. Like, that's so slimy. Like, because then people, what do? It reverberates that, oh my God, Paul Atkins just said this. And bro, that was a year ago. Just say that.
But then it wouldn't get engagement, right?
Yeah. So, but I'm like, just in case you missed it though, folks, last year. Because if you package it right, you can still do that. At least for my YouTube videos, for instance, I don't feel like I can't use old clips, but it's YouTube.
So YouTube's night and day. Yeah. That's why I love YouTube. YouTube's like the only place that's really worth spending time on, in my opinion, because everything else is just, even YouTube, obviously strong degree of fake, but it doesn't reward fake as much. You're muted.
Totally.
Like long term, right? Because it's unlikely that you're going to get, you can't trick the same people over and over again. Like eventually they're going to be like, oh, okay, screw this. Like, look at case in point, there's like not really any crypto creators on YouTube anymore. Right? Because they all got burned. They still exist to a degree on Twitter.
Right.
But do you have anything else?
Not on that. I'll just do a couple of things that we can react to.
Do you want to put them
some memes?
Okay.
Perfecto. World Cup's going on, and there was apparently a guy who bought Wi-Fi on a plane to watch the Argentina versus Egypt game the other day. 187 passengers crowded around to listen to the live match.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool, man. But yeah, so
it's fascinating that something like that can make us all bond together, but not the erosion of our systems. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, the World Cup's on. Like, oh, you're my buddy. We're all just people. And then it's like the systems are collapsing. No, you're an idiot. It's like, okay.
Yeah. I do think that this is a massive takeaway from what I've been witnessing around the whole World Cup situation. Was in Toronto for a little bit, was in New York for a little bit, saw the energy around all of it in both of those places, and then here in Brazil as well, being in a country where they were competing in it and it, shutting down, a small town for the day, essentially, you know what I mean? It's a couple of things that I experienced here so far that I thought were interesting. Obviously, people gathering around for this, like I've never in my life, honestly, like to think that the entire country, right, has bonded together for this moment. Like, when
Mhm.
does that actually ever happen?
Yeah, only typically during sporting events or false flag events. It's like
And even for the Olympics, like wait, false flag. Yeah, I guess terrorism can do that. That's true. Um, um, and a natural disaster, but those things are also very localized. Um, right? Like a terror event, unfortunately nowadays, people are gonna be like, oh, well, it wasn't like they're gonna point to whoever did it,
even if it's real, it'd be a false flag event.
essentially. And then they'll be like, oh, well, this is what's wrong with these people.
Mm.
And it's like, bruh, like that should be a moment where people come together, but it's not at all anymore.
Well, I think it's been abused too many times, right? Where it's like you can't you can't even get mad at people for assuming everything's bullshit because so much of it has been bullshit. So that's why they're gonna bring out the aliens, buddy.
Well, there's that aspect of it, but even I think about like the school shootings, right, as an example.
Got it.
The first thing that people are going to go to is, oh, was this person this? What was the person who did it?
Like the
That's
whole
always the first thing.
yeah, like how the Charlie Kirk stuff is all obsessed with the fact that he had a
Yes.
trans boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever it was. It's like, why is
Yes.
this relevant? uh,
Crazy stuff like that. The shooter themselves, and then that's also a perfect example of like that did not bring people together. No one said that was an American man that just got shot for speaking his opinion. Everyone said he had these beliefs, he was a member of this party, and therefore we are laughing at him.
mm, yeah, it's. I saw some people in the chat being like, "I'll never vote again," kind of thing, and it's tough, man, because I don't even know the right thing to say because I have lost a lot of trust in our democratic institutions too. So I understand that sentiment, but I think the other ways that you vote are with your time, attention, and energy. All right, like, I think
Mhm.
those things need to be considered a lot more. Is that everything that you do is a vote, right? Like, do you fall victim to the trap? Do you put your money in places that are supporting more of this crap, right? Do you feed into garbage? You know what I mean?
Totally, man. I um I was thinking about that because the only reason, to be real here, the only reason I ever voted, uh, like the only thing that I think compelled me to actually do what it took to vote was me being forced to do it for a class in university, um, where I had to go and vote.
It's also though for these voting systems to have any bit of credibility, they also at this point need to build in some sort of like probably blockchain technology for proof of like verifiability and all this stuff. Like I think that's going to become a need, right? Like if you want to keep your system going on as it is, you got to at least show people that it's real.
You got to do something because the problem, I think we discussed that once before, is that like people won't necessarily trust that either.
Yeah, it's always they rigged the election, they rigged whoever lost
Yeah,
the other
yeah,
election, the election was rigged. So it's like, how do you make it so that you don't have that argument? People will still try to make it, but if you can go look and prove it for yourself, then that does a lot, I think.
yeah, yeah. There's a guy who I've talked to once. His name is Tristan Thomas. He is in Latin America, uh, trying to and running experiments to bring um, elections to the blockchain. And they've done it with certain ones. I don't know that it was like certified on the blockchain, but it was recorded on the blockchain, and it helps, right, to have a public record. You can literally see the ballots. You know what I mean? Like that's a pretty big deal for sure. Um, so yeah, we'll see how that all continues to unfold. It's kind of crazy, man. Like like how many times in history have you seen the technology that solves problems just exist
And not be used.
but not be used?
Yeah, because it's a very complex thing. It's also expecting so much from people from like their understanding that it's been proven to be too much with other things going on. And maybe that's all part of the design so that people don't know that. Who knows? But Jay Huron said, i.e. digital ID, guys. Digital ID fixes a lot of problems, doesn't it? I don't know if that's like pointing to the conspiratorial angle, but it's going to happen. Like
It does.
It's gonna happen. That's why I think it's so important that people get it in a way that, again, can't be evil, not won't be evil.
Yeah.
Because with even like cyber attacks and things of that nature, like how long can these existing systems continue to function, right? Until there's like mass cybercrime executed, like crazy amounts of people just draining their personal resources because like their cybersecurity hygiene's not very strong, or even their institutions they're relying on aren't that strong or can't keep up. So yeah, it's probably likely to happen.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's just inevitable.
Yeah, we'll see. We gonna learn. But what else you got for me? Anything else?
Let me see. A couple other things. This one right here. This guy has talked about ChatGPT apparently has launched like a live chat feature, and this was pretty interesting. So let's hear him.
So assume that I'm an English learner and I want to practice my English by talking to you. Could you please listen to me? And whenever you hear any grammatical mistake I made or some expression you think it is not native, could you please just jump in immediately to correct me?
Absolutely. I'll keep it gentle and jump in as we go.
Cool.
Whenever you're ready.
So let's go. I'm a student. I'm planning a trip to San Francisco. I have never went to this city before. So
tiny tweak. I've never been to this city before.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, maybe polish it as I've never been to San Francisco before.
Okay, that's much more natural. I've never been to San Francisco before, so I'm very excited to this trip. My friend told...
Just a quick fix. I'm very excited about this trip.
Oh, excited about this trip. Why not exciting?
Right. Excited describes how you feel.
Oh.
Exciting describes the thing. So you're excited about the exciting trip.
Yeah. So right. That is my personal feeling. So I'm very excited about this trip.
Exactly.
My friend told me that the Golden Gate Bridge and the Fisherman's Wharf are very interesting attractions in San Francisco.
I thought that was really freaking good.
That's cool. We'll see. Like maybe makes me think of Duolingo right away. It's like,
well, that's what the guy said actually. Sorry,
caption.
Yeah, the caption was Duolingo's cooked.
Yeah, if they don't, if they don't adapt the experience, they probably will be.
I got it. Yeah, like for it to actually softly interrupt you the way that it did, and like that, the timing even was like pretty legit. Like even for just like the live call scams, bro, like
very
the thing
true.
that's usually a tell is like the latency, like like so.
Yeah, I don't even pick up the phone anymore.
You can't.
Which is like, that's insane to think about. Because then you think digital ID will probably attach to your, like you'll have some way to confirm that is your phone number.
Most definitely, bro.
It's wild. Yeah, I do worry about my grandparents a lot. I already see them falling all the time for like AI content. And so like this is even scarier because like a skilled cybersecurity person or like someone trying to attack them could use like a voice that they're susceptible to, right? Because almost so many people create content online now where you could easily train it to sound like their granddaughter or whatever. So yeah, shit's gonna get crazy, unfortunately.
No doubt, man. Yeah. Husk. This guy's always making fun.
He's always screwing with ChatGPT, man.
Yeah. So I think he's I don't think it's the exact same feature, but apparently there's an update that he's messing with as well as here.
It's supposed to be way smarter now and way more natural. So let's put that to the test. I have it set to the highest smart setting. Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm all right. How's your day going?
Good. Was this natural?
Yeah, this feels like a natural back and forth. What made you double check that?
I just wanted to make sure. Hey, can you tell me how many E's are in the number 17?
2 E's, 1 in 7 and 1 in teen.
And you're really smart, right?
Pretty sharp, yeah, but I can slip now and then. Want to test me?
Okay, well, did you slip? Is there 2 E's in 17?
Yeah, 2 E's and 17.
And you're sure about that?
Absolutely. SEVENTEEN.
That is 2. That's right.
Exactly.
Okay, have a natural goodbye.
Oh,
So is that's not the same thing that they were just demoing, was it?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's a different version because that other one was live versus this one being the speech.
Yes. Yeah. It's you better watch out when AI starts getting rights. That's gonna be bullying, man.
Yeah, facts.
That's gonna be
Facts,
some hateful behavior. You may go to jail.
man. Oh man. Yeah, so
That's good by Brand. The AI sounds much more natural than he does.
that's fair.
It's so funny how it seems like we're still like if they can't solve the hallucination problem for most of these very high impact things that it theoretically could do, the stakes are so high for it done wrong. Do you know what I mean? So it's like if you're guaranteeing that it's going to screw up a decent amount, that makes it really hard because really big businesses are really in the business of like risk avoidance. And so if you at the base layer, you're throwing in another degree of like potentially huge risk. Yeah, it seems like it's these kind of things are leading to people talking about the potential pop of the AI bubble. But it does seem like the American government is so leveraged up on this either working and solving their problem or tearing it all down, like being the reason it all falls. Do you know what I'm saying?
100%. 100%, man.
So I think the craziness will continue a little bit more because they have to. What are you looking for?
Yep.
What'd you see?
I think I'm frozen like the cat, so we have to.
There you are. At least they got you at a good picture. You're smiling, but on last episode, I was rewatching it, and you got frozen at the most funny spot, man. It was great. But yeah, feel free to refresh. Yeah, you're frozen for me too. Whoa, there's 2 Keiths.
I'm back.
I have 2 Keiths. I have one frozen.
Oh no.
It's all good. I might be able to kick this one. Yeah, I can remove. It won't be available for recording. Yeah.
He's been freezing since he's been in Brazil. Yeah, literally and figuratively.
Literally. I tried to remove you, but it didn't seem like that was an option.
Oh no. Well, let's not freeze again.
Yeah, you're good. We just got 2 of you. There you go. Cool.
My next piece here is that almost half of U.S. adults under 30 live with a parent.
That's a big old number.
It's a big number.
I saw someone comment on one of our highlights, basically talking about how the system isn't rigged at all. People just spend above their means. And I think there's, of course, a degree of both, but they were cherry picking numbers like crazy. They're like you can find a rent or a mortgage payment for $1,200, and I'm like, where? I'm like, where are you living? And then his argument was like, if that's not like in your city, move to another city. It's like, yeah, okay. So leave everyone you've ever known, all your job prospects, whatever, to move to Timbuk nowhere. So I can spend $1,100 on rent and hate my life. Like, I just don't think people are very practical, but they get very fixated on things.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, you can definitely buy a $250,000 house somewhere in the US. Somewhere. You know what I'm saying? But that joint is
That's not really a thing in Canada anymore, unless you go to like where there's literally nobody. Like my buddy did that. He bought these 2 homes. I think he spent like 200,000 to 300,000 Canadian dollars for 2 homes, but he had to basically rebuild them from the ground up.
dang.
And I was like, that's the state that we've gotten into, where he's giving like years of his
Right.
time to do it, to then later flip and make some money. And he probably will make some decent money, but he's been living around no one. He listens to the show sometimes. So Austin, what up? Hope you're
What
great.
up?
Hope you're surviving out there. And he's luckily very skilled as a tradesman, so he can do all the stuff. But man, like, we miss him over here because he's been out there trying to like get ahead.
Wow.
You know?
Wow. That's crazy, man. But yeah, someone else also in the chat earlier today brought up like kids are Uber Eating, and like I'm gonna be real, like that's some real stuff. That's real.
What up, Thomas? By the way, I can't throw up your chat. We lost access to it, but yeah, the Uber Eats thing. Yeah, no, and I Uber Eats probably more than I should, but the problem is like when you work as much as we do, to make food, it is a lot of time that you're trading as well. Of course, those are excuses, but you got to make trades off somewhere. Like, I will definitely make more food when I have grown my businesses to the point where I can do that. But yeah, but I think most people who are doing that, they're not working the hours that we're working. They're just Uber Eating.
No doubt. Yeah. And like I experienced some of that when I was in all right, I guess I gotta call these guys out. When I was in New York, and I'm like, I mean, their place is super nice. So first off, congrats to you guys on that. But I'm like, man, y'all are living in New York, Uber Eating food most of the time, working normal, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're just young people working normal jobs in New York, bro. Like, yeah, it's gonna be really hard to have anything left over if that's the lifestyle that you're living. And obviously going out and everything. And I mean, you know, you should be living your life and enjoying your life. But like, yeah, I can see how some people would be like, there's some wiggle room in your budget. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, people reach a defeatist mentality where they're like, screw it. Like, this was before things got really bad. Like, probably shortly after COVID, I was living with a roommate, and like I signed the lease with just him in the basement, and then he moves in like a girlfriend and like the dog, and they're telling me about how they can't spend any more money for rent because like they're so strapped financially, and then they're Uber Eats and slushies to the door. I'm like, guys, something's not adding up here. You're telling me that I still have to pay this much of the rent because you guys have no money, but yet you're like chilling downstairs playing video games where you don't even hear the doorbell ring, and I'm the one grabbing your slushies and dropping them at your door. Like, this is crazy. So I hear everyone's perspective, but I also think that people are very extreme across the board, right? Like, if a lot of people who are saying that, like, that's their only truth. It's like 2 things can be happening at the same time.
100%. You know what? And I think about this now that I think about this. Like, I've never, like, the only time I'm getting in on an Uber Eats is if I'm getting in on somebody else's Uber Eats order. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I don't know if it's like I don't know what that is. Because it's also like just, I also enjoy being at the place. I think that's what it is. Like, I want to leave. It's like an excuse for me to leave the crib to get food.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And I think that that's something I've been trying to do a lot more. But for me, when I was Uber Eating, it was like sheerly a time-based decision. Like, every time I'd be working till like 7 p.m. and I'm like, okay, I either continue working and order Chipotle and it's here in 20 minutes and it's like for 2 bowls, something like $30-$40, right? So I get lunch today and tomorrow, or I go walk to the store, make it, and then I'm burning like a few hours of my time while I'm already gashed. It's like, at that point, it's hard for me to do it, but I would love to be making my own food.
Yeah, like my eating habits are definitely like luxurious, just more time luxurious. right? It's kind of how I do it. Like, I'm like, all right, like this is my time for the day. Like this is my time, mine. No one can have this time. So I love eating alone. I love going out to eat, like outward. So it's like no one can touch me right now.
That's also why I think like that's a pretty safe sector. I don't see that going away. I really don't think that people will want to be served by like robots unless it's like fast food kind of thing. Like the more experience we're getting the connection. Like when we were at a restaurant, Keith, when you were here in Toronto, and they thought Keith was an NFL player. Like you can't get that experience if it's a robot serving you. You know what I mean? So I like that a lot. And Thomas said, yeah, if I'm going to spend that money, I'd rather go out to eat rather than Uber it in. Totally agree with that. Plus, because the incentive structures of that current operation is also really bad. That's why they don't care as much about the people who are Uber Eating because it's a very fickle customer. Uber is taking like 20% of their top line.
Facts.
Right? So they're like, they're almost mad as they're making your food.
Facts,
and you feel it when you're eating it. You're like, this person hates me.
There was no love in this meal.
No, I mean, you can feel it. Whereas when you go in there, there's an opportunity to build a bit of a relationship. You can feel it a lot more. And then also then you're also throwing in the variable of the delivery driver too, right? So my building's kind of confusing. So these guys get lost all the time. So I'm almost like creating some work, coaching them how to find my building every time. It's a complex thing.
You guys are giving us some sauce in the comments here. Apparently people are deleting Uber Eats and or DoorDash as a part of their cleansing of this.
I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah, no, I think that's sick. It's telling for some of the stuff that we're working on as well, Ben. Like there's habits there.
I knew that was one, for sure.
Yeah.
No,
you definitely brought it up.
I knew that would be one of the things that people are addicted to. And DC person says, yeah, the convenience is the addicting part. Right? Because it is. And there's always a trade-off, right? Like when I'm not making my own food, like even Chipotle, it's not like horrible, but it's not that good in terms of like what's in it. You know what I mean? Right. So I pick the lesser of the evils, but it's still got some evil to it. And you're rolling the dice of when you're not in the restaurant. Sometimes they chintz you incredibly hard. Like they give you like this tiny little bowl. So it's not ordering the food is a good idea. I try to go in person a lot more whenever I can.
Most def. And then I think I have one other reaction thing. These streamers, man. So World Cup's going on. There's this footballer guy, I believe, Dennis Schroeder. I think he's a footballer. Let me make sure. I could be wrong about that.
Dennis Schroeder.
No, he's a basketball player,
right? Yeah.
Correct. But he was with this kid named Neon. I don't know if you guys know that kid.
He's a streamer.
He's one of them streamer kids.
Him, Aiden Ross, Kai Cenat. Like those are like the biggest guys.
Yeah.
Speed.
And he basically kind of gets exposed by Dennis Schroeder. Let's hear what this conversation was here.
Yeah, big gambler, bro. So
you a gambler?
Yeah, big gambler, bro.
Really?
Big blackjack slots. I gamble every day.
And real money?
Yeah, online casino.
Oh, with Kick. They give you the bread though.
No. So
I know how it works.
Let's go.
Who's the long story.
Yeah, I know.
But
I've been there.
People offered me that already.
Oh shit. Why don't you take it?
No, because I'm a role model.
Oh my god. Yeah.
I don't want,
I'm a basketball athlete, like an athlete who a lot of people in Germany look up to, and for me to say, hey, gamble, nah, I can't do that.
Dude, first of all, big ups to him.
Yep.
Scariest thing in that personally though was Neon's reaction to him saying I'm a role model. Right? How he's like, who cares kind of thing. That's crazy. Like beg by any means necessary. It doesn't matter who you take down along the way. Like you can't have a positive society if that's the thought process.
No doubt, man. Yeah, I remember when I first probably saw that Neon character, and I was just like, there's no way that this is what kids are like watching or looking up to, right?
Yeah. Most of them don't watch their streams in their entirety. Like they usually have a core fan group of like a few thousand people that will watch that there's a deep parasocial relationship, and they play like the character up for like that audience live in real time, but most people only know these people from their clips.
Right.
But it is crazy. Like they all are doing this, right? So it's like all these young kids they just think it's so normal, man.
Yeah. So to fully touch on that for people who aren't aware, these influencers are being given money or given free bets by these platforms to then go on their live streams and bet with this money that is been given to them. It's their sponsorship money, and they're getting paid on top of that as well.
So messed up.
And so you think that they're putting money on the line, but they're not.
Right? Bro, that's like giving someone non-alcoholic beer on a live stream and like telling your fans that it's alcoholic and like, look, I'm totally fine. I'm not hungover. I've got nothing going on with me.
Perfect analogy.
Like, that's so messed up. Yeah, I don't like it at all. But there's some funny stuff in the chat here.
Let's see.
So Hard Reset said, yeah, see, he needs to be a household name. And I think that people will gravitate more and more to people that do that kind of stuff, which is great to see. And then Thomas had a really funny one. Neon just locked into the food real quick.
Real quick, bro.
He was not enjoying that direction of the conversation. What up, Matthew? Welcome back. Long time no see. How you doing?
Wait, what was the other one that you said, though?
Brand one said sell out versus not for sale. My whole thing, though, too, is like, at what point is enough?
Yeah.
Right? Like these guys are saying, oh, get your bag. Dude, you got a bag like so many bags ago.
For sure.
Because like if I could see, I can somewhat understand. I still wouldn't do it, but I could understand if you're poor, right? And you're like, this gets me out of the situation. They're so far removed from the situation in almost every case.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like that is where you lose me.
No doubt, dude. Yeah. These kids, I don't even know anymore, I guess, how Neon would. I mean, he definitely can make money so many other ways. Like literally, just even if you just went in the pod, like teach people to invest. Like I don't know, like it could be that simple.
But people don't believe you, right? They can understand conceptually the gambling thing because they see the before and the after, and the whole process was televised or recorded, right? The investing thing takes diligence over a long period of time, so it seems fake.
That's so true.
So it's like, it's not going to be fun to sell, right? It's because like, I don't believe that this took place, because if I only can plan a minute ahead, I have to see the change take place over that minute.
That's an interesting thought, because yeah, the cycle of getting someone to get the positive feedback from that is way different.
Yeah. So they say, careful, Ben, don't give them any ideas. I don't know what I did. Oh, the alcohol thing. Are they legally required to disclose this? See, before I move on, actually, so my whole issue with gambling is not like, I think people should be able to gamble if they want to be able to gamble, but we as a society have not built the appropriate guardrails for the level of addiction that takes place, right? So for example, if you want to go build an alcohol company, I debated trying to do that. And it was like, there's so much red tape there because you're selling something that is incredibly harmful. Here, it's way too easy, way too accessible. There's not enough friction. That's like my whole thing. That's why we built No Dice. But the Rebel said, are they legally required to disclose this? Drake does this constantly. I think if you're gambling with free money, I think they probably are, but they don't. I don't know how it works.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Drake has found himself in legal trouble for some of the things that he's done involving all of that stuff. So probably just, it's loose enough to where they don't. I'm sure, though, that, yeah, there's some level at which they would need to disclose it. But I mean, look at Polymarket. Like, they just set up fake sites. You know what I'm saying? So there's no legal problem there yet. It's just an article that came out about all that.
Yeah, it's so crazy to think about. So Tio says Neon's dad is also well off too. So that makes it make even less sense then. The morals go out the window with the money. Yeah. And then typically when you're up there, you only really need to get a few of them to do it, where then they all do it. Because then if it's normalized, because the reason why someone who cares that much about attention wouldn't do it is because they fear backlash from the attention. And then if they get up there and they're like, okay, well, if we have all the attention and we all do this, then what's the consequence?
Definitely.
And for them, it's not going to hit them. They don't see what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's so normalized at this point. Yeah. Thomas says these guys probably don't even see anything wrong with promoting gambling. They don't. It's become so normalized where it's just, it is what it is. I really dislike that Coinbase is sending me notifications to place bets. Dang, that could make like, they're the sponsor. They're one of the primary sponsors of the World Cup. So maybe that's how they're getting people in to use Coinbase, is having the ability to bet on the soccer.
Did you see my short last night?
No, I haven't. I have my stuff locked with for Casino Dice, right? So I'm seeing so much less social media now. It's made my job harder. You've probably been noticing I don't send you as many things on Instagram, right? So that's
true.
why.
That's true.
Sorry, go ahead. Tell us the story.
Well, yeah. So I posted a short last night about this because I logged into my Coinbase, and it wouldn't let me move forward until I recognized that it said trade. Let me see what it said. It said trade on soccer or whatever.
Trade is crazy.
Trade sports, split $500,000. Complete the 7-day sports challenge.
Trade is just so absurd, man.
Trade is crazy, bro. Diabolical.
Spells, man.
Man, oh man. So yeah, like literally pop-up ad in Coinbase for gambling. And I'm just like, dude, like, why, man? You don't have to do that. Crypto is not down that bad, bro.
Depends who you ask. It's pretty dark.
Oh man, it's actually messed up, dude. I started to think that maybe I'm crazy, but then when I see that, dude, like, oh no, dude, it's like I can't avoid it. I'm not someone who was like thinking about this all that much a year ago, but it's coming to me.
And I told you it would be, man. I was like, it's going to be unavoidable because they've just simply made too much money where their only growth opportunities will be doing things like this because they already have everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So like you can only run through sports fans for so long until they're drained. Right. To a degree. And then you got to go the whole poly market, these odds to get everyone else hooked on the behavior. It's yeah. I don't think they'll quit unless legally forced to do so.
Right. So, yeah, that's what's going on there. I had a couple of pure memes to talk about.
Show me the memes.
This is Anthropic, including Fable in the Max plant.
It's feeling more and more like that every day with using these tools, man. And when they throttle you, even like ChatGPT, is how it feels. Like once you've used enough, like they don't tell you that. They just try to make it seem like you're making a mistake or whatever. Like we had that yesterday. I was trying to use it, and then randomly, I guess we had tapped out. And so instead of saying you've used all your tokens, they're just like, we're going to make this an unusable experience so that you quit.
Yeah. I haven't even been playing around too much. I need to get in there.
No, you're not missing much.
This was pretty good. Hey, there's overpriced garbage over there. You should probably stay up. And this is referring to Kathy Wood buying $27 million worth of SpaceX.
Dude, she's been on a tear, like, as of the last few years, the other way, man.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, she's kind of Jim Cramering herself. She's kind of coming to counter signal.
She certainly has, and that could flip, but right now, it certainly seems as such.
It was also weird to me how she kind of came out of nowhere. Like,
that is true.
It was like immediately like the figure.
Yeah, maybe they needed a female Jim Cramer, basically.
Maybe.
to capture all the women that have now like obviously been professionals and making a ton of money with young women making more money than men in often cases. Like if they're going to start investing.
Dang. I mean, honestly, like she probably did pull a lot of women into Bitcoin.
I'm sure.
And then she's so well put together that like for the men who are so skeptical, like she clearly knows what she's talking about in terms of investing.
She's intelligent for sure. You can't argue that. Like you can say she makes some bad calls, but you can't say she's dumb.
Yeah.
I guess depends on like what you. But yeah, she's you know what I'm saying.
100%.
Thomas said, "Do you guys know Andre's Jake?" Yeah, we talk about him all the time. He just did a recent video on I forget the exact content, but yeah, we talk about it all the time.
Yeah, of course. He's the big dog. Copied a couple of thumbnails here and there, you know.
He should. We would love to have him on the show for sure. But he's yet to come on. We haven't really tried, have we?
I don't think so. But I mean, he's pretty massive.
He's huge, but he doesn't do a lot of shows.
Right.
So like he probably maybe a lot of people are thinking the same thing. Like he's too big to get, so they don't try.
That's fair. This is the average crypto Twitter degen right here, folks.
I lost $4 million in the casino in 7 years. $4 million.
$4 million? That seems like a lot.
That's a lot of money. Yes. But I enjoyed every moment of it.
Aren't you going to run out of money?
No.
That's Buddy who did the Manosphere pod, right? Or show?
Dude, I think it is. Wow, that's crazy, bro. I didn't even realize that, but I think it is him. Wow.
That's crazy. $4 million. $4 million. And how you look at me and say you enjoyed it? What?
Yeah, that's crazy, man. But it just shows, right? Like what this stuff does to people.
And at that point, I don't know, man. The slots is crazy to me as well.
Oh, for sure.
The loop is so short. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, I'm biased because I'm more of a sports guy myself. But the sports thing, like, I see how you could get very addicted to that because of like the social add-ons that come with it too, right? Like that makes a lot of sense to me because there's so many forces. Like your identity is there from the association to the group. Like you're already doing the activity. Substances are typically involved, which I guess at the casino you're drinking too. But the slots thing, I've never even thought about doing slots.
That actually just helped a lot with thinking about some of the personas because the sports gambling person is in a community of people that are doing it. So the hard thing about that is breaking away from that.
Yes, because they think if they stop gambling, they also lose their friends.
Totally.
That's also like what we're trying to. So you got a point? Go ahead.
Yeah. No.
Say for No Dice, we are trying to work on having in like group discounts, so that way you can get your boys to or girls, whatever, to do it with you at the same time, and there's some sort of financial reward for doing that. So you guys will get collectively a group discount because we know that is the scary part, right? Whereas a lot of guys in your friend group, they probably know it's messed up too and are struggling as well. They just don't want to be the guy to say it who has the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think way more of you probably have an issue than you realize, and they're probably saying it to themselves because they don't think they can say it out loud.
Yeah, man. When I look at the comments, I'm realizing that like on all the gambling stuff, it's pretty much the same thing, which is like, don't quit. If you quit, you'll never win.
I hear that all the time.
And I'm like, oh snap. Like, I'm thinking that's like a few people here and there, but like, no, like that's the mindset that they've sold people.
And it's a lot like the whole AI hysteria piece, right? I'm sure the marketers that were marketing this problem understand the psychology. And so if you go with something that is very over the top and obviously ridiculous, then that's something that can be parroted, repeated over and over and over again. Where really it should be, if you don't quit, like, you're guaranteed to go broke. Right? If you keep playing, you will lose.
Crazy, man.
I think more and more studies will come out. Like, I sent you that article or that video from ASAP Science on the doom scrolling studies that are coming out.
Oof.
I definitely recommend giving that a watch and seeing what they cited, because I'm sure that will help with some content for sure.
Most deaf. I think I'm gonna have to go back and find that one.
It's in our text group chat.
Gotcha. Cool.
They're really smart dudes. They also went to the same university as me, so we are alumni. So
word.
Yeah, they're super smart dudes, and they make great content. And they have a podcast now, so I've invited them on our show. That'd be fun to talk about that in particular. But I think that one will help you get the doom scrolling side of things. So for anyone who doesn't know, our app No Dice is basically built to try to break the bad relationship that you have with your phone, whether it's betting or social media and doom scrolling, and block those apps, give you control back over your time, attention, and money, and then give you tools and resources to really get to the root of the problem. Because it's rarely just the thing, it's your life associated that brings you back to the thing. And so we're going to try to make those things more clear with some of the tasks. There's like rotating challenges that you do every day over at No Dice 45, which actually I already pulled my challenges, so we're good.
Let me go ahead and pull mine for you guys. Yesterday was a tougher one for me.
Why?
I had 5 compliments. But I got them done, actually. Yesterday was my first Portuguese class as well.
That's awesome. How'd it go?
Going good. Today, I've got to say hi to 5 people. I can do that. I've got to meditate, no gambling, 30 minutes of something informative, and the gym, which I will do those 2 together. And after tomorrow, I'll be a third through the challenge. Then you might beat me.
I think I will.
I will cry.
Yeah, I hope you don't cry, but I do hope that I win. But yeah, I have to work out, so I'm going to go to the gym after the stream. I've got to meditate, so I will get to hear Keith's voice soon. They are guided meditations, so for all the people out there that love Keith's voice, he can guide you through a breathwork session and a meditation session only within the No Dice app. And then I also have to document my journey by practicing my communication skills and filming myself like this.
Fantastic, man. I know you said there were some comments on the previous stream that you wanted to address.
Yeah, there's not a ton, but we can. Do you have it handy?
Let's talk community. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk. Hold up. I gotta do the thing. We're without our producer today. Well, because you're sharing your screen, I can't put on media.
Oh.
So shout out to producer Sharp, by the way, who's sick right now. That's why we've been handling it ourselves. Hope you feel better soon, man.
Yeah, man. So last episode, Tuesday, we talked about why everything feels so broken with Casey Counts. And it was a pretty fun time. We had a few comments. Let's see. Self-Reliance said, thanks. What up, Self-Reliance? Appreciate you. Not Blitty said, bro, Ben, keep that beard.
Still here.
And in fact, people have been commenting on your beard again today. They said you got a nice beard going on, Ben, so keep it going.
This is like 10 to 14 days-ish. It grows
10 days, bro. That's crazy.
Maybe closer to 2 weeks, but it grows fast. Like if I don't shave for 2 or 3 days, I've got like a little beard going.
Bro, that's crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think that I'm envious of that, though, to be honest. That sounds like a lot of work.
I use like an electric buzzer when I do it kind of thing. So like it gets it down, but it takes a while. It is kind of annoying for sure.
Frostfit said practical engineering would also be a good guess. He's different from real engineering. Have you heard of him?
I have not.
Cool. Frostfit, you've left us some comments. People with sunk costs. What were we talking about? Right, not wanting to change and say that you were wrong about something.
Sunk cost.
Yeah,
yeah, it's we as crypto people, like when people were so amped that Trump got in, it's like you think about how differently that went for the average crypto consumer is pretty insane. The only one who made money was Trump himself.
Yeah. It's super wild, man. It's like, I don't know, like anybody who's still talking about Trump and Tom and stuff like that. He said also want to contemplate the people who either from getting away with it for so long or just their nature think they can get away with it. Their carelessness makes them sloppy. Some aren't even cognizant of the target on their backs. Some are, and they sleep shaky for it. There are so many cracks in their operation. Next thing he said was the gaming industry is suffering from execs.
We can't see your screen if you're trying to show.
Yeah. Gaming industry is suffering from execs forcing releases of 18% finished games, seeing poor sales because the game's only 18% of the game. They're responding to that by releasing 16% of a game the next time. Any thoughts on that, Ben?
Yeah, there's a strong degree of truth to that. The whole system of gaming is broken in terms of like how fast they rush things out, who is involved, who gets to make the decisions. Like it's so far removed from what got people hooked on gaming by having these great experiences, these immersive experiences, these stories that were told by people that were really passionate about it and cared about every single detail. Now it's just it's all purely controlled by big suits, which is why it'll all fall over. And I think that there will be a massive emergence of more indie developers and small studios. Like I eventually, when we get the businesses really popping, I want to build a game studio for sure. Because I think there's massive opportunities to make great games that people would buy and pay for, but they're just tired of getting ripped off.
Totally. Heard. Let's see. What was the one that you wanted to talk about?
The bottom right there.
Okay. D West 42163. It's not the systems that are corrupted. It is the people running them. If you think socialism or any form of government would be any better after a thoughtful, unemotional examination of world history, gotta ask yourself if maybe you guys are included in the PSYOP too.
Yeah, I appreciate you leaving the comment. But in that comment, there's assumptions about what we were even saying. Like I don't think even when we did talk about the other isms, I don't think there was anything said to that they would be better. It's just more so that they've not been explored properly. Is more what it was, and I don't think any of them would necessarily work. I don't think anything that was created like more than 10 years ago could possibly work for how messed up the world is today. There's too many variables that you're not considering when anyone created these systems.
Super fair there. And yeah, definitely don't think we were pointing to anything being an answer or superior.
But we're also, but I think it's worth exploring. Like, and we're gonna have some guests on in the near future who are advocates for the different types of optional systems to try to learn. 'Cause I think a lot of people speak from a place of ignorance, right?
Self included, which was I think the point that I was making. Just like how many of the things that I parrot about isms that I actually have not studied or investigated.
Yeah, I don't think I think most people, again, myself included in this too, don't know enough about even these current system that we're in, truthfully, right? To let alone speak about the other ones and how much of that is on purpose. Who knows? So I think it's worth exploring. At the very least, you can always take what you want and leave what you don't.
Most certainly. Cool.
But that's the ones I want to go through. Bison, thanks for leaving a comment. Tux, we appreciate you. Phosphate, we appreciate y'all all the time. And anybody who's watching this, we do always go back and look at the comments. So if you missed us here live, obviously we wish you were here live, but we still appreciate the people that watch after the fact, and we do see what you say.
Yes, 100%. We appreciate you guys. And then, yeah. Well, anything else, Ben, you want to touch on?
No, that's all from me. Last chance in the chat. Do y'all have anything else that you want? Thomas says, when the money is corrupt, the system will inevitably be corrupt. I align with your thinking, Thomas. Yeah, I think until that's fixed, nothing else does matter. But again, that's my biased viewpoint. Hard reset, 100% fair and correct. I hope you got the isms from my comment. Haha. Love to talk about that stuff. Self-reliance. Yeah, I think. Jeff Booth also uses that as well. But it's a fun little thing. Yes, so many people are politically charged. Yeah. And they've heard someone that they look up to or that they connect with having a strong opinion on something, and so they feel like they have to as well, even if they don't know it. Cool.
Yes, sir. All right.
Well, that's everything from me. They said, Wubbs says, stay warm, Keith.
Thank you, Wubbs. I appreciate that.
And thank you, RD, always for holding down the chat. Self-reliance, appreciate you. What a sale. Thank you. Always such a pleasure to have you here. Hard reset, thank you. Praveen, later, it was good chopping it up with you. And Brand One, we appreciate you as always. Yeah, stay curious. Don't play into the evil. Love it, love it, love it. Well, that's all for me, Keith. Anything from you?
That's it for me. Make today the best day of your life, folks.
That's it. That's it. Be the light that you want to see, and we will see all of you on Tuesday. Have a great weekend, folks. Bye-bye.